Ghost down the hallway, there's a presence, bedroom shadows, cloaked and haunting me, cold hand touching me, fear overwhelming me, tapping at my window. I can't bear to open my eyes, a breath on my neck, floating apparitions everywhere. Go to sleep with the light on, I wake up paralyzed. Ghostly apparition hovering over me, asking what it wants to know. I'm shaking now, it calls out my name, cloaked and haunting me, cold hand touching me, fear overwhelming me, tapping at my window. I can't bear to open my eyes, a breath on my neck, floating apparitions everywhere. Go to sleep with the light on, I wake up paralyzed. Sirens of the Caspian Sea, the depths of the ocean we gather in splendor, sunken ships and treasure, luring sailors with our songs, hypnotic hymns, promises of bliss, whirling and twirling, the warmth of the ocean, spinning with souls in motion. Take caution, my friend, this could be the end. A mermaid's tale, you're mortal, so frail. Following ships in the night, catching glimpses, but can you trust your sight? In the water your blood will spill, The souls of the sea are now caressing me. Your final resting place, the ocean, the sea, the murder of man, no one will ever find them. Swirling and twirling, the warmth of the ocean, spinning with souls in motion. Take caution, my friend, this could be the end. A mermaid's tale, you're mortal, so frail. Catching a reflection in the mirror of something standing in the corner of my room, watching me, observing me. Is it my imagination or insanity? A strange hum, a flash of light. I'm overcome, nothing but fright. Otherworldly beings taking me in the night. I'm an extraterrestrial hostage tonight. I wanna run, but I can't move. What do I do? What do I do? Where are they taking me? Where are they taking me? I'm an extraterrestrial hostage tonight. I wanna run, but I can't move. I don't feel real. I wake up in my bed. Was it just in my head? Looking at my hand, there's something there. Inside of me, I'm feeling oh so scared. Confusion and nasty fear. It wasn't.
All right, folks, welcome to Paranormal Roundtable. I'm your host, Josh Turner, and this is PRT, Pretty Righteous Time. What do we got here? What's going on? It's going to be different tonight, folks. We're not going to be doing, we're not going to have Monica, Abe, or Joe on here tonight. Monica is out with her husband. It's his birthday, so happy birthday to Chris.
Oh.
That's her husband. And Abe is out at a dinner. Don't know exactly what for.
So you're telling me that they prioritized family and basic human needs of food over PRT?
Well, not Joe. Joe,
They should be punished for that.
Joe got bit by a snake, and so he's been sick all week.
Oh, so he's
So he's prioritizing his health over
that's
us.
to me, that's his problem, though, for getting bit by the snake. I mean, like, and then I had to
been
talk
me.
him into going to the doctor, so not too happy with you, Joe. Not too happy with you.
How dare you?
Because you know, you could have died. So Joe,
Peace frog. Just one snake.
disappointed me because he didn't go and get help like he was supposed to. I was having to talk him into it, you know? You gotta not think so little of yourself, man. Well, he thinks, you know, I'm a Texan. I'm tough. I can deal with it. But
you got to respect nature no matter what.
You can't do that, Joe, because you could end up losing some kind of limb or something, life and limb.
Yeah. Snakes don't care where you're from.
His leg ended up swelling up and becoming blue and purple and all kinds of stuff. So this is what happened. I don't know if anybody caught the interview earlier with Elliot Marzulli. He's going to come back on Monday so we can do some more.
I thought y'all knocked it out of the park with that one.
Yeah, it was really.
It was fun talking to him.
Yeah.
I mean, I've talked to him. You know, we've talked on the phone, but
It was really cool. It kind of felt like, you know, you guys were just on the same page. So you guys were able to just, you know, read well together.
well, we have a lot of the same.
Yeah, y'all were just like going
Well,
back
I
and forth,
think it was more like
bouncing stuff off one another.
y'all's intellects
out
were
real
just
well.
at a similar level, or what you guys had such in-depth knowledge about similar subjects that you guys were able to just immediately, vibe and kind of just dance off each other.
Yeah.
That's one thing I wanted to start off with tonight when we get some people in here. When he was talking about the Iberian Punic ruins that were marked by runes. It's kind of a mouthful. Some people were messaging me afterwards and asking me. First of all, the shirt I was wearing was Dig Dug. People wanted to know what the shirt was.
Oh, that old
So I
game.
had like 3 different people ask me. It was Dig Dug. And then I was asked about what the Iberian Punic was, like what would, and I'm going to explain that to y'all. So you will know, because it's funny that I did not know that the Stonehenge of the Americas was in New Hampshire. Now, I learned something today. I thought that it was in Connecticut for some reason, but I guess the Northeast all kinds of runs together,
Yeah.
So we can get into some of that. We're going to talk a little vampires tonight and a little dogman, werewolves, whatever. Maybe some Bigfoot, some ghosts. We're going to get into it tonight, and we got a whole show planned for Sunday. We got it ready to go. Tomorrow night will be open lines. So if you want to talk tomorrow, come with it.
Yeah, people have been really wanting that for a while, so then they liked it.
If you buy a membership, you can be entered into the contest to win a drawing that will come out on Sunday. I am going to make a deal with Marzulli. I'm going to get some of his books, and he's going to autograph them. And we already made the deal. Another good thing is my dear friend Lyle Blackburn, I got his first sale for him. He doesn't know it yet. Maybe he'll see it. But we convinced one of our favorite barbecue joints to carry his hot sauce. So yay to that.
It's going to be a big hit.
It's going to be big.
I mean, that habanero
It's
is
going to be
out of
bigger
this world.
than
Going to win
Picante.
bigly.
What is it? The paste picante. It's going to be big. That's not really hot sauce. What is that? That's salsa, right? That's what that is?
Yeah.
Paste is salsa. I remember when I was a kid, they had like, this is made in New York City, because
Yeah.
paste is supposedly made in Texas.
Yeah.
Still tastes like crap.
You get your salsa from New York City.
Get a rope.
Remember
You're
that?
going to hang a man because he doesn't eat salsa from New York? It's pretty violent. No wonder they think Texans are whacked out. No.
It's not what is it? It's picante sauce, which is kind of different. It's like a mixture of like hot sauce and salsa, because it's tomato based, but it's also vinegar based, so it's like both.
What?
Paste.
You got a sauce connoisseur over here.
Isn't that what Keem says he wants to do, is make hot sauce?
Yeah. I already talked to him about it.
Pray for him. He has got really bad kidney stones right now. He's in the hospital.
Oh.
Yeah, he just got out of surgery today for his kidney
So
stones.
he was in surgery. Keem is in the hospital, was having surgery. Another one of my guards fell off of a ladder and hit her head. But she's able to work now. Finally, she's been released to work, but she's not. She's still having headaches. So hopefully she'll get better. Prayers for her. And then we have my brother, who's in the hospital right now. He went in because his dog Bentley, yes, his dog is named Bentley, stepped on him down there, and it swelled up to the size of a baseball.
Yeah, pretty badly.
And we had to make him go to the hospital. And then he goes in there, and they're like, your blood sugar's messed up because you're diabetic and you drink Dr. Pepper.
And also, this is a major issue. Like,
He can drink this. This is a
Well,
Dr.
why-
Pepper version of it's called Poppy,
Oh, that sounds good.
and it's got apple cider vinegar in it, and it's actually lowers blood sugar.
it's actually really good.
It's actually really good for you, but he didn't want to drink that. That's like the keto bread. I was like, dude, if he sees that it's healthy, he's going to...
Yeah.
Like, you could be eating it, and if you find out...
Even if it tastes the same,
Yeah.
the same texture, everything.
Oh, it's
Scorpion
like
him will pretend,
Alec,
and then when you turn your back, they'll throw it in the trash.
Yeah.
Alec with any seafood.
Oh, yeah. Alec with seafood. Yeah, he was chowing down on some calamari, my godson, Alec. And when we told him that it was calamari, that it was squid, oh man!
Yeah.
And he felt like he acted like he was going to die.
Thought it was onion rings. Well, it was
He
fine.
thought it was chewy onion rings.
Yeah. You're eating a million of them when you thought they were onion rings.
Spilling tea says, "Ew, that stuff is ick. I love calamari.
That sounds like a personal problem.
We eat it everywhere we go."
Spilling tea.
You don't get to dislike calamari if you eat pig feet or organ meat or liver or gizzards or chicken hearts or chicken feet, any of that stuff. If you eat that stuff, you're not allowed to dislike calamari because all that stuff is like way worse. It's gross. It's unfit for human consumption, but calamari is great.
Well, here's the thing: Scorpion won't eat watermelon or avocados. You know, which also
Pepper is gross to me.
precludes. You know, you're not gonna obviously you're not gonna eat guacamole. Okay.
Oh, you're getting
He's a
calamari.
Mexican that doesn't eat guacamole, but he will eat livers, gizzards, and hearts, and all kinds of other disgusting things. Like
Yeah.
he'll eat what's it called? Menudo.
Oh man.
Is there a way to keep this thing from going, making my face turn into a vampire, and then
Turn the brightness down.
Yeah. hang
it's
on.
awful.
Spilling tea. It was said she ate it at Red Lobster.
Well, there's your problem.
Exactly.
Red Lobster.
I was gonna
People
say.
still go there. Like the ones around, are they still open?
Yeah, there's one around here somewhere.
Why was there a picture of me? A picture of me showed up on the screen.
I did.
Yeah,
Oh.
that's weird. Do it again. See what it does.
Let's see.
Are you posing?
I don't know what it was doing.
You taking screenshots?
It's me
No,
wearing Thundercracker
I
shirt.
pressed the wrong button on the camera and it went to the
Photo mode?
yeah. I'm trying to change the
We took some pictures of me at the
ISO, yeah.
gym. A couple of them came out. The rest came out all blurry. I look like
see.
Blob Squatch. Like, does he really exist?
There we go. Let's see.
That's good.
Yeah. Leave it there. All right. Let's see how that works.
Wendy Guizdala, you went and got Menudo for the hangover, or the Menudo gave you a hangover? I could see how Menudo would give you a hangover. How you'd be really sick from eating it. It is quite gross.
I mean, what is a hangover? Just an overdose on toxins, right?
What?
That's what Menudo is.
Menudo makes me so mad because that broth is so good. The broth the broth tastes good. Everything about it is good except for the main part of it, which is like that tripas, that whatever that it's just like chewing gobs of fat. There's no reason for that to be in there. You can just put pork tips in there. Like, why use that garbage?
Especially nowadays.
Yeah.
It's the same price.
If you don't know,
Go to La
you don't need
Hacienda,
to
which is one of the local mercados where you can get all that kind of stuff. And it's like the same cost as getting like pork tips. There it goes. It makes no sense to me.
Good to know, Missy. Yeah, I just sent it today. We did a bunch of.
Oh, you sent the package today to her?
No, I mean I sent the packages.
Did you send one to her?
Yeah.
Yep.
So she's getting another one.
Well,
She said her package just showed up today.
no, she said she got a tracking. It's showing up on the tracking. So that means that it.
Oh, okay. All right, cool. So how many did
Yeah,
we
she
ship
was
out
asking-
today?
Hang on, let me count because I made a note of like all the different people.
Just wait
There's
until the
Speciale is way
2,
better
3,
than
4,
yellow.
5,
Speciale is way better.
6, 7.
I actually like.
We had 8 people to send off to. One of whom I sent you an email. If you're watching, check your email. That you're at the postal place that they said your address was not valid. So maybe there was a typo. If you could just double check,
is that
send your email
Lakota
again.
Angel?
Yeah, I believe so.
She's usually in the chat.
Actually,
So one of the things that we talked about earlier was Baalbek, because L.A. Marzulli, when we were talking earlier, he was, and so just so people understand what that is there's a site that's called Baalbek that's in the Levant. But it doesn't necessarily mean that that's the only one. There's several. Because and I'll explain all of that. Some people were asking about that. There was a few people who had messaged me and said, "Hey, can you explain this? What is this?" This sucks too. We got work going on. Some guy just, you know, we do 2 hits there a night on patrol. So we go there to close the pool, and then at the end of the night, and the guy calls and is like, "I want to talk to somebody now. There was a hit and run here." And I'm like, "Why are you not calling the police? Why are you looking for the patrol security that comes through there twice a night?"
We're not even supposed to be there until 10.
Guy getting mad, start yelling, and you're like, "Dude, do you realize I am running a security business? I'm not a police officer." You know?
You need to be complaining to the management that they only want to pay for 2 hits a night.
Unbelievable.
Might as well not even be there.
Chris says, satanic Nazi Hindu cult paid. No. You didn't pay it because it's only $5. Cult fees are now $25.
Yeah, it's expensive to be part of our
It is. It's
cult.
gotten more because we need the tunics.
Yeah.
We got to get those tunics, man.
We're taking the whole cult thing to the next level. So,
Well, like the Applewhite guy.
what do you think we are? Some low rent
Exactly. If Applewhite
Satanicus cult?
they had jumpsuits with the Nike running shoes, wasn't it?
Yeah.
So we got to at least have that. But I want tunics. I think we should have tunics over that.
Yeah, tunics are show that we're high class.
Exactly.
Yeah,
So when you actually do yourself in like a moron, they'll be like, "Hey, but they look nice."
Yeah, they're stylish.
And we want cologne.
We want uniformed.
Mine
members.
is Yavis Saint Laurent. I think is that how you say it? Somebody corrected me the other day. Is it Yavis or
So it's like,
how do you say it?
I think it's like Yves Saint Laurent.
Yves Saint
I
Laurent?
believe,
Yeah, but that sounds so foo-foo.
that's how someone said it, like at the perfume counter. I don't even know if they got it right.
And you guys aren't really even
I don't
thinking.
like the foo-foo way of saying it. I like Yavis Saint Laurent.
You guys aren't
mean,
really
why
thinking
not?
of the logistics of getting different flavors
They
of
know what you're
Kool-Aid.
saying.
I mean, people don't like fruit punch Kool-Aid. They might like grape or blueberry. All that costs a lot.
Oh, you're talking about the Kool-Aid for the cult?
Well,
Okay.
Didn't they just drink red Kool-Aid down
that's
in
what I'm saying.
Jonestown? Wouldn't it just?
That's not very inclusive. People might not like the red.
Yeah, you got.
Yeah,
got
we do
Crips,
need to
too.
get.
They might not want.
We do need to
Kool-Aid.
get different flavors of Kool-Aid for the because
think it
I
would
mean,
just
like,
be better.
And Mickey G says no orange Kool-Aid. Why not?
if it's gonna be your last drink, it should be a drink you enjoy. you know?
Exactly.
That's what I'm saying. But before we ascend to the
Spaceship.
mothership, yeah, I mean, like, who wants to go to the satanicist Hindu cult mothership, like with a belly full of like Kool-Aid that they don't
You
even
have a
like?
mothership?
Yeah, that's what.
Oh, we're trying to get back to.
No, that's where we go whenever we drink the Kool-Aid.
Oh,
I've already
Yeah.
been. No one, he's got to drink Kool-Aid
I didn't
to get
even know
there.
that there was one. I guess I'm behind. I didn't even know.
Oh yeah, I mean, you're so busy with other stuff that like you know sometimes
So I got other
we got to
people running the
update
cult
you.
for me, and I'm not even really paying attention to what's going on.
Yeah, you're kind of delegating
There's a
the
lot of
whole
hidden
logistics of the
features
cult
to
thing
this
to
cult.
us.
There's
I noticed that.
above
Yeah.
ground and the underground, and I think
I need
you've
to be
been
more
focusing.
involved in writing the bylaws of this thing.
Yeah.
We need some kind of rules.
Yep.
Somebody's got to put the rules down in this place. Oh man, okay. Are we behind on doing cult stuff? Yes, we are. We sure are. We need to really get things going here.
We're about 3 meetings behind.
We're not getting the cult dues either. We only got $5 here. Come on, folks. We need the cult dues. I need dough like anyone. What I need to do is probably I'm gonna have to rent a hotel to live in. So if we could get this going here, so I can at least live in a halfway decent extended stay, like and not in a bad part of town. Mickey G says grape is the fave amongst us cult members. How do you know that though, Mick? You can't say that because there's so many different people.
And there's
I've seen orange, I've seen tropical, I've seen grape.
I don't like grape. I like purple, not
I don't
grape.
like grape either. I would much rather have
Sugar,
like
water,
cherry's
purple.
pretty good, but I mean cherry's kind of overdone, right?
Yeah.
So maybe we should try to get orange.
Blue
Orange is not
raz.
very common.
There's a lot of flavors.
I liked orange. When I was a kid, we'd mix them. Get like the lemon lime. Mix it up. Missy says absinthe.
Oh man.
You'll be in the mothership after you drink some of that. The Green Fairy. You'll be gone.
Yeah, you'll be on the astral plane on that stuff.
Mike Snow says this rambling is overdone. Well, we're trying to get some people in the chat because if I start talking about something and 300 people are then people are going to miss out. So yeah, let's get started anyway. I mean, we so he's right. Let's just start. Let's do what we got to do, man. Jonathan Driller, thank you for that donation. We appreciate it. We're not getting many base hits these days. I don't know if it's something we're doing or what. Do we have a knife or something? They seal this up. You see how there's no way to open it unless you cut it open. Do they assume you're going to have a cutting tool to open this protein cookie?
They don't want you to get to it.
This is delicious and it's good for you. You ain't getting it.
Yeah.
What do you got there? You got something?
I want to keep you unhealthy with the packaging.
I'm going to give people a chance, though, since y'all are the earth. Just use the keys. Since y'all are the early. Oh, wow. This does not. That is not going well. No, I got it. I used my claws. So we're going to give y'all an opportunity to decide, since y'all are the first ones in here, the people that are here on time, what we're going to talk about first. I have a werewolf story that's really compelling, and then I have a goat man, not a goat man. Well, it is a ghostly goat man something. I don't know. And then we have a shadow being. Here's an interesting one. Me and Anthony were talking about this one, and it's from if I ever get to go to the Northeast, I would love to go to Boston, because even though my Mavericks lost to the Celtics, I love the Celtics. The Celtics are my fourth favorite team because I have to go for the Texas teams. The Spurs are number one, then the Mavs and the Rockets are second, and then I guess number three, because since the other two are tied, would be the Celtics. So I like the Celtics. 18 championships can't be, But this one happened in Boston. And get this. They had gone to the Lizzie Borden house. Mm-hmm. And this woman, she claims that she's been stalked by a shadow being her whole life, that the being is so overprotective of her that something happened when she went to the Lizzie Borden house. Mm-hmm. Ironically, her name is Monica. Kind of like the one that didn't show up tonight. Just like Abe and Joe.
Too busy taking care of their health and their marriage.
Ridiculous.
A lot of people are really not paying
I got
attention.
to go to a dinner with my wife. Monica's like, it's my husband's birthday. Joe's like, I got bit by a snake.
I got a date with the snake.
Just flimsy excuses.
Ridiculous, man. Come up with excuses for anything.
It's hard to find good help these days.
Look at these two people. Take a good look at these people. This is what is wrong with America. Look at these people.
What is wrong? Okay, my hat's crooked. That's what's wrong with me. But outside of that, not much.
I'm just saying, if it was me, I would build a better America by not having people that looked like, well, mostly like Tony.
Yeah, because he doesn't know how to use a brush.
It's not my fault. My hair does this anyway.
You could brush it out, though, and it wouldn't do it. Let's put it that way. If I let my hair go, it gets curly.
No,
I got like wavy, like thick hair, but like if you put product in it and you brush it,
I can control the top, but not the end. So then what happens is it's flat on top, and then like these ends start curling.
Let's take a look real quick. We're at 3:10 now, folks. Oh, he just put his hat back on. Oh. Never mind. So what do you want to do? We got the story from Boston. It happened in a hotel, but I don't think that that's what was. I don't think that's where, I think it was something else. But it happened at a hotel. The hotel, they asked the manager, and they were like, as far as we know, it's not haunted. They had never heard of anything happening there. There was this demonic goat-like entity that was seen in Baltimore, which obviously that's another weird thing because apparently Goatman loves Maryland.
Yeah.
So right outside of Baltimore, some people saw a Goatman. Not the Goatman, like it wasn't like a physical thing. That's the weird thing. There's a weird story there, and then there was this vampire type story, and I was reminded of it whenever I was talking to LA. So I went in and I looked it up, and I was talking to you about it, Anthony, the vampire of Baalbek. There's a whole backstory there. We have some friends that used to live near there.
Mm-hmm.
And a guy that used to work for us that lived near there. And he used to hear weird, freaky things. So let me talk about let's start off with this, and then we'll get into it. You guys vote in the chat, okay? You want to hear a vampire story, a werewolf story? I got a Bigfoot story. I got a ghostly Goatman story, and I got a shadow, a freaky. This is freaky. I don't know. It happened after someone visited the Lizzie Borden house. Weird story. So we got a bunch of them, and these won't take away from what we got going on Sunday. And tomorrow, if you have a story to tell, even if you sent me your story even if you've sent it and I've retold it, or even if it's there waiting in the email, like some of you had emailed me before and still came on the show and talked about whatever it was you'd sent, just go ahead. Call in tomorrow. Talk about it. We'll see. Okay? So what do you want to start with here? We got vampire, werewolf, vampire, shadow story. It's pretty even here, it looks like, doesn't it?
It looks like werewolf and
Wendigo?
vampire are neck and neck, but it seems like vampire is kind of taking the lead now.
It looks like vampire's coming around the track there right now. It's taking the lead. When it wins by a nose. No, necessarily. No.
Mm-hmm.
Werewolf, shadow. Okay, so here's what I'm going to tell you. We'll start off with this, and then we'll talk about the vampire. Okay. Mm-hmm. What me and LA were talking about earlier was, when you was talking about the Romans conquered a country or a land called Carthage. And Carthage, was their big rival and for control of the Mediterranean. But one of the things that the Romans did, they liked to use the other countries and lands that they conquered. They like to use their pagan religions against them, even though the Romans would be considered pagan too. The Romans were always like, well, we're not like those people. We're not sacrificing our children. We're just enslaving theirs. And working them to death. There's a difference. We're civilized people, us Romans. So one of the things that the Carthaginians were accused of, which they did do, was worshiping a god named Baal. And Baal demanded child sacrifice. And Baal wanted you to burn your children. And so the Romans were like, hey, man, these people, they're bad. They are really bad. They smoke weed and everything. Okay? It's horrible what they're doing over there. They're sacrificing children. They're smoking weed. Their loincloths barely cover their privates. They got some problems, man. And on top of that, there's this whole economic thing where, they might actually dominate the Mediterranean and all that, but that's not the most important thing. The most important thing was the bad things they were doing.
And I heard they drink Coors Light.
And
you can't abide by that.
They drink watered down mead. Despicable people. They were rumored to come from a people that came out of the ocean. The word that for these people, actually the term, what it meant in Latin was like those that came from the depths. So they were supposedly like the children of Neptune, and there was a race of beings. Okay. There was a race of beings, I can't even say, I don't want to butcher it, that supposedly were supplanted by the Carthaginians. And then they became the inheritors of the sea. They were very, very good seafaring people, very strong seafaring people, very good sailors. The Romans, by contrast, were not. Neptune was not their god. He was not their friend, and they only made supplication to him when they had to go and sail, which was when they had to go and conquer other places. If they could get to you by land, they would prefer to do that. They were not sailors. But one of the things that they had decided was that they had to have hegemony over the Mediterranean. They could not abide by Carthage's, power. So that began the First Punic War, which they defeated the Carthaginians, and they imposed massive, heavy tax burdens on them, which led to Hannibal, one of my favorite generals. And I'm not judging his proclivities to worship whatever god he worshiped, but he was an amazing military general tactician. But he was awesome as far as a general. He was a North African. The Carthaginians would look something like Anthony. We'll take a look at Anthony. He's similar to a Carthaginian. The dark hair, dark eyes, and brown skin. That's how they look. They were not African. They were not black.
Did the Berbers descend from them, or are they different?
The Berbers that's the descendants of the Carthaginians, basically,
Okay.
yeah. They were a type of Carthaginian, actually. In other words, not all Carthaginians were Berber.
Okay.
But, not all Berber were Carthaginians.
Yeah, basically
were
like a
Berber,
sub-race.
Yeah. So what happened was the Arabs invaded there in the 600s, and they, under the spread of Islam after Muhammad died, and they, set out in the conquest, and they just spread out all over North Africa, setting up bases everywhere, encampments, and then they ended up interbreeding with the local inhabitants and creating another race. They're not like the Levantian Arabs. They're darker. Mm-hmm. They look a little different. And so when you look at these people, who they were and what they are, they were pagans until the Muslim conquest. And this would have been way back in time, In fact, look up Scipio Africanus. He's the one that defeated in Zama. He defeated Hannibal on the plains of Zama. Mm-hmm. The exact date of that battle. That was the decisive battle that once and for all ended Carthaginian rule, and they were ultimately wiped out. It became kind of like Sparta. Believe it or not, Sparta and Carthage were both Roman conquests, and they ended up sort of being like resorts that the Roman people would go and visit.
Battle of Zama was in 202 BC.
202 BC. I was going to say 200 BC, but I didn't know exact date. The exact was 202 BC.
In modern-day Tunisia.
In Tunisia, North Africa. The Carthaginian Empire encompassed Libya. It encompassed Tunisia. It encompassed Morocco and Algeria. It was large. They controlled, a lot of it was desert, but they had a lot of key jumping off points there. And Carthage was really a very powerful rival. They had lots of gold. They had lots of soldiers, lots of people, whatever. So Rome could not abide by their existence. And they used that child sacrifice, which is a big one, to wipe them out. They were like, hey, we don't do this, you do. It's a bad thing. Let's get rid of them. Mm-hmm. And they had, some of the earliest conquests, after or before and after Carthage, to finish the Peloponnese conquest, which was from Macedonia all the way to Sparta, which is Greek. But there was no Greece. It was different city-states of the Peloponnese Peninsula. And so those were their two primary rivals at one time, was Greece and Carthage, and they were defeated. And then they conquered the Iberian Peninsula, and then it just went on and on and on. Well, when I was talking with LA earlier, it came up about the Stonehenge, America's Stonehenge in New Hampshire, and that it was a temple made in honor of Baal. That was a Canaanite god, little g, that they worshipped and served. Now, you're wondering why Iberian Punic runes would be carved onto a temple that was found in New Hampshire, and I'll tell you why. The Iberian Peninsula, which is Spain, which is Hispaniola, it became Hispaniola under the Romans. They actually traveled all over the world and made little Baalbeks everywhere. Everywhere they went, they paid homage and honored their god, Baal. And he must have been a really powerful dude for them to be so enamored with him. To this day, they have found cairns built in the Swiss Alps where Hannibal had encamped, where his soldiers, everywhere that they went, they would build these little miniature temples in honor of their chief deity, Baal. And so Baalbek, the major city of Baalbek, the jumping off point, one of the major points in the Levant, where a lot of the sacrifice went on, that was not in North Africa, in Carthage itself, was one of the capitals of the Carthaginians in Lebanon. At that time, they would not have been Lebanese. There was no such thing as Lebanon.
Yeah.
Back then, do you know who they were?
The Phoenicians.
The Phoenicians. The Phoenicians, known as some of the greatest sailors that ever lived, and they're also responsible for
We get our alphabet.
for the numerals, Arabic numerals, and the phonetic alphabet, of course, in Tyre. Yeah,
That's what Hooked on Phonics refers to. Phonics,
Phoenicians, and they were sailors. They also created the brick oven. The Carthaginians spawned the Phoenicians. Really, that's who they were. Their closest relatives were. The Chaldeans was another one, and some say the Phrygians even were an offshoot of the Carthaginians. So wherever they went, they created these cairns, these miniature little temples or whatever. But Baalbek was a major city that they used to build a temple to a false god, in my opinion. Mm-hmm. Now, when you look at the Romans, now we were talking about Turkey and Asia Minor. That's where the fabled city of Troy. And when Virgil, when he wrote the Aeneid, now the Aeneid is the companion to what?
The Odyssey.
The Iliad.
Ah.
And the Romans claimed their heritage came from Aeneas. Do you know who Aeneas was, what he did?
No.
He was the cousin of Hector. Hector was the hero, you know, of Troy, who was defeated by Achilles. You know, these mighty men of renown, that's who they were. So Achilles would have been sort of akin to a fourth or fifth generation god, basically. He would have been like the great nephew of, you know, one of these gods, whatever. Zeus supposedly was his dad, but I would say if in reality he probably was really descended from the Nephilim. When you look at the size of him and Hector, they would have been like 6'5", 400 pounds, or 350 to 400 pounds. These ridiculously large men.
Which back then was giant.
And I think him and Hector, they said they mirrored one another. And we know this because of the amount of silver. Some say it was gold, some say it was silver, that they was ransomed. The body from King Priam, he was like, you know, from Troy. He asked the king of Greece, Agamemnon, if he could have the body of his son. He wanted him because he needed him to go across, the river Styx or whatever, because they served the same beings, whatever. And Agamemnon went to Achilles and him and his myrmidons, that's what his soldiers were called. And he asked him, can I take the body? He's going to pay us a bunch of money to have the body of his son. And so he did. He relented and said, okay. And then he even went to King Priam, Achilles, paid his homage, and apologized for dragging him around on a chariot, from behind a chariot. It was a great affront what he did. But Achilles was not a nice guy. Achilles was known as being a dickhead. Achilles sacked the temple of Apollo, and he had the women in waiting raped, and he burned it, and it was scorched.
Yeah.
When Heinrich Schliemann, when he found the city of Troy, the temple of Apollo, and the scorch marks were still there, supposedly. So Achilles, supposedly, he's a real guy. He did this. We think that he was probably of a Nephilim bloodline, 6'5", 6'6", whatever he was. And so what ended up happening? If you watch the movie Gladiator, do you remember how what's his name, Joaquin Phoenix? Mm-hmm. He played Commodus, which was a real guy. He was an emperor. Mm-hmm. His dad was Marcus Aurelius. He comes out and he's holding his nephew in front of him, and he says, Lucius, he's talking to Russell Crowe's character, Maximus, and he tells him, he goes, Lucius thinks you're Hector reborn. And then the reason that he says Hector and not Achilles, I noticed that there's a lot of little nuances that Ridley Scott put into that movie. He's a smart guy when it comes to, he knew his history, because the Romans claimed their heritage was Trojan, was from Troy. So their heritage being of Roman, and then in Aeneas, which Virgil wrote the Aeneid based on Aeneas. Aeneas has escaped from the fall of Troy, and then he goes and he founds the city, and his descendants, Romulus and Remus, would be like his great-grandsons or whatever. They would eventually form the city of Rome, and of course they would overthrow the Etruscans, and then they became the first true Latins, and then of course their language took hold, and the Romans, they probably originally came somewhere from a Germanic area of Austria, but that is their story of their history. So Commodus would have actually been, Hector would have been their hero. Mm-hmm. Yeah, him and Aeneas would have been the heroes. Not Ajax or Achilles, because they would have been Greek. So it was the story of being defeated, but then like a phoenix rising from the ashes, they come back, and then in turn they defeat the Greeks, who at that time would have been, the premier power would have been the Macedonians. They defeated them, and then the Achaean League, which would have consisted of Argos, Athens, I forgot the other one, Corinth, and then Sparta. But then there was all this intrigue and infighting, and the Romans used them against each other and eventually defeated the Greeks, and then they were like, we did it. After all these years, our Trojan heritage is complete. And so Virgil was playing on that, saying that, hey, you beat us at Troy, but then we came back and we defeated you ultimately and enslaved you. That is their story. Then you got the Carthaginians. The Carthaginians, who worship Baal, would have been interlopers into that region. They would have been considered like heretics, because they did not pay homage to the gods that the Greeks and the Romans both shared. A lot of people said, well, the Romans, and this is interesting, the Romans stole all their stuff from everybody else. Yes and no. They already had their gods in place. Ironically, the Etruscans, they did not necessarily take all of their beliefs from the Etruscans. So there may be some truth to the idea, maybe the early Romans had actually interacted with the Trojans at some point, which Heinrich Schliemann believed maybe could have been the case. So you gotta wonder like where they got those gods from, because they were believing in those gods before their interaction. A lot of historians will say that no, it was after their interaction with the Greeks. No, their gods already mirrored them, because the Trojans had the same gods as the Greeks. Of course, Troy would have been founded by Bactrian and Boeotian Greeks. Mm-hmm. And this would have predated anything that we could, that would have been like even Thermopylae, which was in like 434 BC? Look that up. Thermopylae, which would have been Spartan, whatever. Now, the reason this is important is because these histories tell you the stories. These creatures that appear in this ancient antiquity, they go back so far. It goes way back beyond all this. And according to the Iliad,
480 BC.
480, okay. So 480, for 434 would have been the Greek, there would have been the Spartans' defeat by the hands of the Thebans, I believe, maybe. Maybe I'm wrong or right about that. But I think the Thebans, once they defeated them, that was their first loss, and then they ended up going downhill from there. And then 100 years later, they were ultimately handed the Thebans got their ass handed to them by the Macedonians. Why it's all important is because if you follow the timelines of history, you keep seeing the same deities showing up over and over and over again. The fallen angels, they divide their descendants divided up into different camps. And if you look at the Jewish canon, it actually talks about Abraham being asked by God if he's going to follow him or if he's going to follow the powerful ones reside east of the Euphrates. Now, why would he ask him that? It's a choice he has to make because Abraham was not from the Levant. That's why. And so he said, look, I'm living in Sumer now. I don't believe he was Sumerian. I believe he came from further east. That's my opinion. Thank you for that donation. We appreciate it here at PRT. And so Abraham, his name was not Abraham, it was Ibrahim. Ibrahim and Sarawati, that was their names. And he tells Yahweh, he says, I will follow you instead of the gods of the Euphrates. Now, Yahweh calls the gods of the Euphrates the powerful ones. Very odd. Now, I believe, me personally, that the Garden of Eden actually resides. There are 4 rivers, Euphrates, the Tigris. One of them is called I can't remember the name, but they're hard to pronounce. It's hard to remember, Pern or something. There's 4 of them. And they all kind of run. One of them you can see kind of just comes out of the ocean. I mean, it's right there. Look it up. You could probably see it. Gihon. Yeah, there you go. And yeah, the Pishon and the Gihon. Thank you, V, whoever that is. Yes, my brain is okay. So, but if you through satellite imaging, we can see that there were actually rivers. Those 2 rivers are dried up now, and they've been dried up for thousands of years. But you can see that they go right into the Persian Gulf. It's really, really weird, dude. And so it says one went across North Arabia and was the size of the Ganges. Because at one time, the Arabian desert was not a desert. It was not. And neither was North Africa. North Africa was lush and green. But now the only thing that's lush and green there is the fertile Crescent Valley of Egypt. Yeah. So what ends up happening, that to me is that was the Garden of Eden right there. That's where it was. But like I said before, I don't know that I necessarily believe that this is the beginning of mankind. I think that was the beginning of us as mankind. But anyway,
mankind as we know
it, yeah. And I think it was probably like, maybe 40, 50,000 years ago. That's my opinion. But I think that man has been around a lot longer than that. We've risen and fallen a bunch of times. But what ends up happening, the Baalbek is established as the center of worship for Baal. But how did they end up in the Americas? My theory, and this is me, I'm just talking, right? I think, and this is going to sound maybe crazy just flying out of my mouth here, but there was a lot of blood drinking and a lot of diablerie that went on amongst the Carthaginians, and the Romans made no bones about it. They were like, they're evil. They sacrificed their own children, which is something the Romans didn't do.
No.
They worshiped the false gods of the old ones, the powerful ones, But they didn't sacrifice their children. They didn't make their children to walk through the fire, which is something. There was an ancient volcano that's defunct now there in Tunisia. And they would throw them into this hot lava that would come up out of the earth. And, of course, the capital of Carthage is no longer there anymore. They salted the earth from where it's at. There are places like that, like Thebes. Mm-hmm. Nothing will ever grow there again because the Macedonians salted the earth with it. It's done. This is weird. Like when you go back and you look, and then water, they ruin water over these things, and thousands of years later, there's still nothing there. It's true. You can literally wipe something off the face of the earth. The ancients knew how to do it, and I mean, we damn sure can do it now. We could just push a button and nuke the hell out of it. It's over. So I believe what they would do is they would set up these cairns wherever they went, the Carthaginians, right? I believe the Phoenicians did it too. But I think with Carthage, it was a little more serious. I believe that they would use these kind of as stargates, not necessarily stargates as in bringing interstellar beings. That's not really a correct term. Portals.
Okay.
One of them was found in the Swiss Alps by a hiker years and years ago, like back in the 60s. I was reading an article about it. And then it was just, it's like LA was saying, whenever they find something, they run and they go find it, they cover it up. And then you never see it again. So when the people see some of these balls of light and these beings and these things that come out of these places, in particular places that were set up for worship of the gods, Moloch, Remphan, Baal, all these different deities, these different beings, Apollo or Apollyon is another one. Because in the Revelations, it talks about opening the abyss, and it's Apollyon that's mentioned. These places, I believe that they set up power, and they give these gods life. Well, you know what they do, though, in order to give them physical presence? What is the substance that they use to give them life? The blood. That's why it's so important, because the blood of Christ, we're always hearing about the blood of Christ, because Christ shed his blood. And it wasn't, to me, it was not like people think it was. God didn't send him down to me, okay? Mm-hmm. I don't believe he was a sacrifice. I believe it was something that had to be done, okay? But I don't think God was sacrificing his son in the way that people think he didn't have to do this. He did it to show us. Okay, he never asked for or needed blood sacrifice. That was something that people did. Yeah. People write these things and they do these things because they wanted that. And I don't believe that our God ever needed or wanted our blood.
Actually, just real quick, I've heard it said that when Christ is on the cross and he says, like, my God, why have you forsaken me? That's actually mistranslated from the Aramaic, and if it's properly translated from Aramaic, then that is just what I've heard. I don't know if I believe it, but if it's properly translated from Aramaic, he says, my God, what a purpose you have preserved me for, or basically that the meaning changes. So like everything else changes, so like it's not like God forsaked him, because that's not what he's saying, So it goes into what you're saying, that like
so you're saying that he said what now?
Like supposedly he said, my God, what a purpose for which you've preserved me.
What a purpose, yeah. Yeah, there have been debate after debate after debate, because if you translate it from Greek, it's all different. Mm-hmm. And now, of course, Greek, the Hellenism, which was Greek culture, through Byzantium, which with the Roman Empire served its purpose to spread Christianity, and the Byzantium, everything from there to the east, which was Asia Minor, Constantinople, everything. Then what it did was it spread through the Greek translations of the New Testament. Mm-hmm. A lot of it was translated into Greek. And so Michael DePaul says there was a Roman philosopher who always began and ended his conversation, no matter what he was talking about, with the sentence, Carthage must be destroyed. We need someone like that now. Carthage, like I said, they had the Phoenicians. There is a lot of people believe that the Phoenicians came first. Now, this is my argument. I've argued with historians about this. I'm not saying that I'm correct all the time, but they believe that the Phoenicians settled Carthage and made them, it was a settlement from the Phoenicians. I believe this. I believe that at that time, Carthage would not have been a colony, because I think that they would have actually been, it was the other way around. I think that they would have settled. And now I believe that that was something that was created later on as a theory, because the Arabs and the Jews in that area, they both wanted to have their history be more long-lived, right? So, of course, they're going to have this belief that, like, how did these Berber people, like, how could they have had more history than us for longer than us? And I've argued with Arabs and Jews about this, because the ruins of Carthage, we don't know because the Romans destroyed it. But we also know that Roman historians claim that they were an ancient people, and they were there long before the Etruscans. So the Phoenicians were old, but they're going way back. Like, who knows? I mean, it could have been either way. I just know that everybody in the Levant thinks that they were there first and that they hung the moon, okay? But by the same token, the Romans, the Italians, they think that they hung the moon, okay? And then, of course, it's funny when we call someone stupid, we call them a cretin.
Yeah.
The Cretans actually ruled the Peloponnese for about 1,000 years. And everybody from the Minoans, because that was the Minoans, the Minoan society, they controlled everybody. The Greeks, the Phoenicians, the Chaldeans, the Carthaginians, they all pretty much danced to the tune of these Minoans that controlled and ruled Crete. The Cretans would have been the Greeks' first real conquest, finally getting out from underneath them and not having to give their children to the Minotaur, right? Mm-hmm. So it's hot in here. Can we get something? Yeah. It's warm. So, I believe that the Minotaur was a real thing too. I believe that was one of the infernal creatures, and I believe it was probably created by Tiamat. And they used it. It was probably one of the last of the Minotaurs, or it could have been the last of the race of Minotaurs that were above ground, right? And the Cretans used it as a form of sacrifice. And so it was not a good thing for the Cretans to come to your city, because if they did, they would tell you, if they showed up in Corinth, then you knew that it was your turn to sacrifice your most beautiful son or daughter to the Minotaur. These beings have been around for a long, long time, and they've been very much a part of ancient culture, ancient history. And ancient culture and ancient history is mankind starting over from the antediluvian period. Because pre-antediluvian, we had technology. We found light bulbs and batteries. We found all kinds of things. We found what looks like, effigies of craft that have flown. Things that like in an Egyptian tomb, they found a plane. It flies. You can throw it and it moves like a plane. Huh. How did they have these things? I don't believe that things are the way that we think they are. I think that we have amnesia and we don't know. But maybe we do. We just forgot. But you got to look at this, the big picture here. And the big picture is telling us that we have a common ancestry. And these Phoenicians, they go back, way back. You go to Baalbek, and you look at the Carthaginian god and worship of Baal. The reason I think that maybe it was the other way around is because Carthage, being the capital of the Carthaginian Empire, if they were a colony, then why wouldn't the Phoenicians, why would they not be answering to the Phoenicians instead of the other way around? It didn't make sense. And why would the mouth of hell, which was near the capital, which was an open volcano, why would you throw your children in there? Wouldn't that have started it? Right?
Yeah.
And then I believe that they founded Baalbek, but because it was such a large enterprising center for the Phoenicians, a lot of people believed, oh, it must have been there first. And they believe that the Carthaginians came later. But I think that was also Roman propaganda to minimize them, to make them look like they were not, worth a shit. You know what I mean? They're just this little spot that the Phoenicians pooped out, and they're nothing, we're going to just stomp on them and whatever. But if that was the case, then why did Hannibal rampage through Rome for 11 years? Don't think so. But when you look at the Stonehenge of America and you look at the Phoenician, the Iberian Punic writing, Iberian, like I said, being Spain, Hispaniola, which we know that Hannibal camped there for a long, long time, and was using it kind of as a base of operation to rampage through the Roman Empire. And that was, of course, one of Rome's first and most important holdings was the Iberian Peninsula. The Punic writing, which is Punic, it's Carthaginian writing. That's their language. That's why it's called the Punic War. The Second Punic War was when they defeated Hannibal, and then they destroyed Carthage once and for all. When you look at the Stonehenge, it's found that there's writing on there. Here's another thing. People find wherever they go, where these places, these mini Baalbeks, these mini whatever, people find that there are cults that grow up around them, and that they always have like depictions of human sacrifice and blood drinking. Right? The Romans themselves accused the Carthaginians of a lot of weird things, of not only them destroying their children by the fire, but also drinking blood and cannibalism. And now we know that there may be some truth to that. Just as the rituals of the Minoans aren't completely known, the Etruscans, the Minoans, these civilizations that were destroyed, and a lot of the history went with it because the Romans wiped them out. The Greeks wiped out, the Cretan civilization, the Minoans, and then reestablished it with Greeks. Something people don't realize either, there was some guy saying that he's from Sparta, okay, and he's making these sandwiches here. And I'm like, bullshit, okay, because Sparta has not existed for 700 years. You could have been from the city that was right outside of that region. Starts with an M. I can't remember the name of it. It's so tiny. But there is no more Sparta, okay? What you do have, though, is a region that was once controlled by the Spartans. And that region spawned its own terrors and things, and people seeing all kinds of weird whatever. Because I believe in all of these civilizations, what ends up happening is things grow, legends and stories grow up around them. Somebody says a centaur. Yes, the centaur, the minotaur, all of these are the ram-headed deity, these are chimeric type creatures that grew up alongside Greek, Roman, Phoenician, and all these the Carthaginian. That's what they are, And I believe they were really seeing them, and I think they were sacrificing people to these things. One in particular, Baalbek, is seen often and to this day, and it is a flying, winged humanoid creature that people see. And it's bald, it has this bald, bulbous head, and it looks like a Nosferatu vampire. And people see it regularly, like quite often. And they say that it will steal your children, it will steal your livestock, and the people there in Lebanon live in fear of it. I know because we know several Lebanese people. I know a lot of Lebanese people. Y'all know a few who we've talked to. And they really believe that this thing is a real thing. And that it will, literally attack you. Now, I did some research into these other smaller Baalbek, places, whatever. They all seem to have a commonality. And that is that there is this flying winged demonic entity that seems to haunt the ruins of these places. My theory, and what I believe, is that the Phoenicians may have been the ones that founded Petra, and that it was carved into the earth by them, but by the behest of demons. And I think that these demons, and this is my theory, that they were enslaved by Solomon, or Suleiman, as they would say in Arabic. And after they were freed, I believe that they went back to where they came from, the ones that were from the Levant, and the Canaanites that worship them, and they built that city so that they would worship them and serve them and bring their energy back up, because they were completely exhausted by being enslaved by Suleiman. And so what they did was, and I have reasons to believe this, but I don't want people running and looking into this book in particular, because it's not a good thing. But some of the histories that I've read, there is a lot of different theories, but the esoteric theories that a lot of people overlook, which are basic historians, they don't want to look into this. They don't want to look into the paranormal and say, hey, this could be what happened here. I believe that Petra, if you look at the dimensions of it, and we were talking with L.A. earlier, and he was talking about how you look out over the trigonometry. He was talking about the trigonometry, aerial, God, what is the name of it? What is it? What did he call it? I forgot the name of it. It's a type of math. But if you look at it...
Triangulation?
Yeah, it's triangulation, but it's something else. But if you look at that math from an aerial view, and you take a look at these cities, right? These ancient cities that are, and it's a lot to take in, I know, but you can see that it was not done by ancient humans. There's no way that could have been done. Like when he was talking about the Incans, those blocks, like Chichen Itza. I mean, you look at there's no way that they were cut that perfectly. No way that the Incans or the Mayans or any of these people could have done these things. I don't give a crap what anybody says. The Egyptians too. Zahi Hawass can say whatever the hell he wants. It's bullcrap. V says Roman Emperor Elagabalus. Yeah, Elagabalus was a weirdo, dude. He walked backwards through the streets of Rome carrying a black stone.
I remember that.
He married a male Egyptian charioteer that would whip him and flagellate him in public. He was bloodthirsty. Yeah, it says here he was bloodthirsty and worshipped the black stone. Emesa was as grand as Baalbek and has never been excavated. Yeah, weird guy. He ended up being one of the emperors of Rome. How do you get to that point? Overdoing multiculturalism. That's how you end up at that point right there. Okay? I mean, multiculturalism can be a good thing, but it can also be a bad thing, because then you end up with who knows what and what knows what. And the people who are just all mixed up don't have a race, a religion, a gender.
Unity.
Well, yeah, you're just, who knows what you are. You got to have something that binds you together besides federal government that just tells you get along, because that is the road to perdition and civil war. I've seen it. I'm not rooting for it. I'm just saying that's what it is, what happens. But when you, Elagabalus, you look at him, okay, that is a prime example of what happens. Now you got to remember the black stone, right? So what ends up happening with these cities, these places that were founded by these ancient deities, these, whatever you want to call them, they false gods, whatever. Mickey Sporan says, Wolf, wish you could do a separate podcast about the true history or not. I wish I had you as a history teacher at school. Yeah, I was going to go become a history teacher. And then one of my history professors told me, you're not going to be able to teach history the way you want. You got to teach a lie. He flat out told me that. And I thank him for that, because I would have been a very miserable and unhappy person. But then the more you learn, and if you don't have an audience to tell people, you're miserable because you know the truth, and people, you can't tell people. I'm trying to spit it out there in as layman terms, and trying to give it to you as palatable as possible. Because a lot of these places, if I just start spitting out names and dates, you're going to be bored and you're not going to understand what I'm saying. You may be bored already. But anyway, what it has to do with the paranormal is everything, because that is the true nature of our reality. If you look at cartography, right, and like Cartesian, math, it's really, it tells you, like Descartes, he's trying to explain everything from his perspective when he was around, but a lot of what he was, like the principles that were found, the math principles that were founded upon on his work, I don't think are correct. I don't think they're correct. I think that everything is wave. I think that everything is vibration. I don't think that there is no straight up and down. That's not correct. I don't believe that. And I believe that anything that is a straight line like that is artificial. It's man-made, right? So the world, to me, does not look straight. There are no straight lines. Anytime you see something like that in nature, you know that someone made that, did that. Just like El Dorado. People say that they found El Dorado lying in the jungle in the middle of Brazil, on the Brazil-Belizean border. And they found this, what looked like a spot where there was a temple, probably a pyramid. So you have all of this, weird stuff. But a lot of times, like look at all of these deities that they were sacrificing, these gods they sacrificed to. A lot of them looked like reptilians, dragons, vampires. They looked horrible. They were different races of sub-nature beings. And what I mean by sub-nature, like you have inner earth beings, like elves and dwarves and all these different types of things. They exist. Somebody asked me recently, and I'm going to answer this question. It was a guy by the name of Chuck. He sent me a message, and Chuck, I'm going to answer your question. He said, how many of these beings are there? I said, they're countless. Countless. He said, how many races of man exist? I said, from beginning to end, countless. You can count them now, all the races and the sub-races and subsets, but they're countless going way back. It's happened over and over and over again. Man in some form has existed for a long, long time, and these sub-natured beings exist for a long, long time. You have, let's just take one type of sub-natured being, a gnome. Mm-hmm. You have one called the red cap. That's one species of them, right? Mm-hmm. Of that red cap, how many different tribes do you think there are? Probably at least a dozen, maybe 2 dozen. Who knows? They have their own little niche, just like the Native Americans had countless tribes. Yeah. The red caps are the same way, but that's just one type.
I mean, that's just found throughout, all of nature.
I can't hear you.
I said that's just found throughout all of nature, really. I mean, there's plenty of examples of lizards or spiders who live in basically the exact same environment, but grow.
And then they crossbreed.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And it's like, okay, so these all based on environment and small little changes and based on what kind of food they have, they can turn into a varying species of like hundreds of different kinds.
Well, we have rat snakes now that are reproducing with rattlesnakes. They have venom like a rattlesnake and they don't have a rattle. And I don't give any crap what anybody says, that could have been what bit Joe. You don't know. I mean, there's all this different stuff. I mean, spiders will crossbreed too. I mean, people are like, oh, no, that doesn't happen. Bull crap. Why? Because you don't want it to be that way? You can want what you want.
Nature finds a way.
You can want one hand and poop in the other and see which one you get first.
You ever seen Jurassic Park?
I think I'll take you up on that.
I'm wanting in this hand and in this hand.
Way ahead of you.
Don't give me a challenge.
Don't threaten me with a good time.
So when you look at this creature, now we have a story that we got, and I know that was a long hour, not even quite under an hour, like explanation, but it was a base for the history of this. We have a story. We're going to go to the Levant for this one. This is Baalbek. There was a woman, okay, that told, well, the guy that told us this story, it was his grandmother's best friend. And he grew up with these women. She was always around. And I think it was actually his grandmother's cousin, but they were best friends or whatever. And he knew her when he was a child, when she was a baby, like a little, not a little baby, but like a toddler. She was getting water near Baalbek. And of course, you're not supposed to go there. And the only people that would drink the water near there back in the 1930s, were the poor people, because the water there was considered to be bad. The Muslims had forsaken Baalbek because they knew what it was, and they knew that it was a place of sacrifice. Mm-hmm. And the well there had been capped, and they believed that it wasn't really a well. It was where they would throw the sacrificed bodies, and that there were monsters down there that would eat them. Pretty grim. So they capped it. And to this day, people claim to hear screams and shrieks coming from somebody who used to work for us, told us about this. And they hear these things coming from the capped well of Baalbek. And of course, the legends grow and the stories grow, and people say that there's all these things there. The Guela, which is like a ghoul type creatures, they roam the desert, and they inhabit these places like Petra and Almadam and Baalbek. What are they? Some sort of animated corpse type creature that has a metaphysical nature to it, looking for the flesh of the living, because the legend is that if it eats people, that it becomes more person-like, people-like, right? And then it can take the form of an actual beautiful woman once it eats enough people, right? Kind of like Hellraiser.
Yeah.
You know, where do you think Clive Barker got the idea? You know, he's like, just like H.P. Lovecraft. Where did he get the idea for the Necronomicon? It was I'm not going to say the name of the book, but there was a book, right? He did a lot of studying in the Levantian magic and the Enochian magic. So you have these beings that wander around doing what they do, and then you have this werewolf type creature that will actually eat them. It's like a food chain, right? And then, Starscream. What's up, Starscream? I hope you're feeling better. We should pray for Starscream too. He's been ill, not just mentally. But we have this weird thing going on here in Baalbek, and so this woman, she went out to fetch water, and it was considered to be sour, sinful water. I don't know how to say that in Arabic, but it was not only sour, but it was sinful. You weren't supposed to drink it. Because to Islam, just like in Christianity, your body is the temple, you're polluting it. But these were poor people, so they would go out at night to take water from the well. It wasn't always good, because that water is down there with whatever the hell lives down there, right? And they, especially back in those days, they just kind of figured, you know what, this is just the price you pay for living near the ruins of a Phoenician/Carthaginian sacrificial cairn. You know,
Yeah.
This is just what you do. I mean, you're here, there's nothing you can do. So they would go and they would fetch water. She was snatched up when she was with her mother. She was like a little toddler, and this demonic entity snatched her up and took her and flew away with her. This was one of the hazards. Her mother had to get water. She was poor. She was a Bedouin, and there was nobody there to help her. The men were always out looking for food or foraging or whatever they had to do. The women had to go out at night to get water, and you were not supposed to go out at night in the desert because that's where the jinn are. Well, one of them, a flying, demonic, vampiric entity, snatched her up. Okay? What was so horrible about this situation was that they didn't go out in mass and go and find her, you know? It wasn't some quick thing where she was brought back and they were like, oh, thank God we found you. You're saved. You know, oh, goodness gracious. It's so awesome that we found you. No, She didn't get returned until she was 8 years old. She lived in a cave overlooking the ruins of some place they could never find. They didn't even know where this place was. It was up in the mountains. And she lived up there. If she walked out and she fell out, dropped, she would be dead. So what I got from this guy, the story that he gave me, really curled my toes and made the hair stand on my body. It was amazing what this woman told him that she remembered from her time, from the time of the age of almost 3 until her 8.5 year, halfway mark to 9, what she went through. So I don't have enough time to go through and flesh it all out and tell you the whole story tonight. But what I will tell you right now is that she was preyed upon and turned into one of these beings. So for the rest of her life, she had a lust for blood, and that at times they would find her drinking the blood from goats and chickens.
Oh, wow.
And that her eyes would turn yellow, and that she would grunt and growl, and she had fangs, top and bottom. These beings had turned her into one of them, basically. And she had parents, a set of demonic parents, I guess you could say, that they were black, they had black skin, and their eyes were slitted like a reptilian's, and they had forked tongues like a snake, and that they had big teeth like fangs. But that was her parents, but the one that kidnapped her was a beige color, and that it belonged to a different family, and it gave them children. And these beings, get this, the ones that she lived with, there were 2 other human-like children that they were slowly turning into whatever the hell these things were. And they had these green stones, and they would give this beige kidnapper these green stones, and this creature, this kidnapper, whatever, would trade with others, like gypsies. Mm-hmm. She saw them, they went to like this encampment of gypsies where they all had green eyes, and the people all wore masks on their face because they were Bedouins. But she said that whenever they would take their masks off, they would have these sores all over their faces, and their teeth would be elongated like vampiric-looking teeth. Very weird stories. Now, is this proof that there are vampires living amongst the Bedouins in the Levant? No, but it's a person's story. It's their encounter, whatever. And her name was Michaela, but Michaela literally had lived amongst these beings, and they knew. Like this was her grandma. This was this guy's grandmother's first cousin or friend, whatever. Because in Arabic culture they call each other uncle and cousin, whatever. So he doesn't know if it was really his grandmother's cousin or if it was her friend. But she had this affliction. But she was a devout Muslim, and she prayed, and she wore the burqa and did everything she was supposed to do. But she had this affliction. And for the rest of her life, I mean, she was 50-something years old, and she was still going through trying to be human. And there were times when she would look normal, and then other times where she would look, whatever. She was married. She had a very abusive husband that ultimately ended up being crushed on some rocks. Some people believe that she killed him. I would say probably because he was dropped from up high. Yeah. According to the way that he fell. That's what the guy that told us the story, he believes that that's what happened, and I kind of think that's probably right. She could levitate. When she was angry in particular, when she had a lot of emotion, she could float and do different things. And these would be abilities that would be given to her by these jinn-like beings. So, yeah. One day, I'm going to have this guy narrate everything to me. I don't have time to tell you all of it right now today because it would take up the rest of the show. But and I haven't even gotten to all of it. I've just barely scratched the surface. And we've started corresponding. But I do have the, how do you say it? The honor, the pleasure, the luck.
Privilege.
The privilege to know a lot of people from the Levant. I know a lot of Arabs. I know a lot of Bedouins. I know a lot of Berber, and I know a lot of Jewish people that are from there. I have a ton of Israeli and Syrian.
You can just look at someone and tell them where they're from.
Yeah, and I can talk about their culture like that. Yeah, Turkish friends. And in fact, one of my friends, he's from Turkey. A shout out to Burkan. He's the one that's helping me get my cologne line launched, hopefully after I get moved, if I find a place to live, which if I don't get something soon, I don't know what I'm going to do. Probably living in my car. Hopefully I don't get eaten by a vampire or drug out by a dog man or a Bigfoot. But yeah, we hope and pray that won't be the case. We're hoping to find something soon. But things happen. So anyways, that's what's going on. That story, will come out eventually. And then, of course, the story of Petra and what happened to Agnes, the woman from the Danish woman, or from Netherlands. So we'll tell her story too and get back to that, that story. We still haven't gotten to Carlos's story yet. I had a conversation with him briefly the other day. He has not been doing too good. He's got congestive heart failure. And so we want to get his story out before something happens to him. I'm eating a protein cookie. Delicious. Kind of dry. Healthy's not always tasty, but this isn't bad. One of my haters the other day said, "You're fat."
Oh.
And I was like, I was waiting for the punchline. Like, what's the next part?
Yeah, like, where's the joke at?
I'm like, what does that have to do with anything?
That's like telling me.
You have eyes.
That's like telling me you're brown. And what's your point?
Doesn't go anywhere. You're just like,
Yep.
oh,
Big gulps, huh?
big gulps.
See you later.
And you're just like, and I could be honest and say, yes, I'm a little portly, but you're stupid. And you always have been and always will be. Your capacity for learning doesn't exist.
I can lose weight tomorrow, but you'll be stupid forever.
Yeah, you're done. And they don't listen, they don't watch the shows, they don't learn a damn thing.
Yeah.
It wouldn't matter if they did watch the show. They don't learn a damn thing.
Yeah, they don't learn nothing. Mickey G's like, sorry to hear that, Josh. Sorry to hear that I'm fat. I ran to the mirror immediately. They basically, this is how it went down, Mickey. They called me up and I was like, yes, hello. And they're like, you're fat. You're just a fat guy. And I'm like, ah. Oh. And in slow motion, here it is. No. And then I ran to the mirror and I was like,
Having an existential crisis.
Yeah, we're taking this pretty seriously. So if you guys can go ahead and join our GoFundMe to figure out if Wolf is fat or not, we need to get to the bottom of this.
Yeah, we need to find out, we need to find out if Wolf is fat. We need to find out.
curious.
We need to find out, and we need to find out how to cure it. We need to find out if I'm brown, and we need to find out if he's Asian.
No, I'm Asian.
This is very important.
We just need to know.
It's very important. I need to stress this with a tiny hand. All right? You need to you need to help us do your research.
Yeah, we'll figure this out together. High five.
There we go. Tiny hand high five.
We need to figure out if these are our hands or not.
Well, yeah, but first first and foremost, we need to figure out if Wolf needs to lose some weight or not, and then we'll go from there. You know what? We need to find out. Let me take it a step further. We need to find out if I have a speech impediment, and we need to find out if Tony has sleepy eyes. That too, right? Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You figure out my hair.
But all these things, Wolf is fat. He can lose weight tomorrow. I got a stutter. I can practice and I can speak better tomorrow. But you'll be stupid forever. Forever and ever. Lizzo is looking good. I never knew who that was until like people just started commenting about her weight. I was like, what the hell is a lizard? Like, are you talking about a lizard? What is that? Starscream, what in the bloody hell is up with the tiny hands?
Did you tell them that we won the lottery too?
Oh yeah, we hit the lotto. A whole $15.
Yeah, we're rich.
Yeah, we want everyone to respect our privacy at this time.
Tony has an admirer.
Who?
She says Tony is cute, so there's nothing that could possibly be wrong with him.
Oh my god.
I
Poor
already
lady.
know that.
So attractive people don't have anything wrong with them, because like attractive people are like some of the most messed up people you'll ever meet, because they don't live in reality.
That's why I'm
No
the
one's ever
face of the
told them
show.
like you're ugly or you're mean or you're stupid, because like they just treat them better because they look good.
I mean, people tell me that, but
You know,
I
though,
just don't like
that's
being
part
lied
of
to.
your karma.
Yeah,
You have to be able to overcome that.
yeah,
Beautiful people, that they actually, it's a test.
yeah.
It's actually more of a
Yeah,
curse.
it's like if it goes to your head, then you
a burden.
fail the test. Yeah,
It's like being rich.
I mean, like, yeah, it's like whether you're like rich or poor, or you're born like attractive or like an ugly person. They're both burdens that have their own problems that you have to overcome. But either way, it's a test. Because if you're born like into wealth, then that can go to your head and why am I still messing with the hand? They can go to your head and make you a terrible person. Or if you're born like really attractive, the same thing. But if you're born with nothing, then you can harden your heart and be a bitter person and be envious and covet what other people have. Same thing if you're born ugly. You know, you can look at good-looking people and just hate them because they look better than you.
Is that something you're dealing with personally?
No,
It does sound like it though, doesn't it?
You got a lot of
I
knowledge
look
there.
You
forward
can't
to
see Tony in the camera. Oh, there he is.
because
Scoot
I
over.
look forward to tomorrow. I get better looking every day. I don't know what your
Really?
problem is. Yeah,
That's
I get better with age. I'm like fine wine.
because that's
Well, his
not-
mirror's
that's
getting dirtier
not
and
true,
dirtier,
but
so-
we're gonna
That
move
is
on
true.
with that. Okay. Oh my gosh. I always look at you and I think, if I was ugly as that guy, I don't know what I would do.
I am not ugly
I always
at all.
believe, like, I look at Anthony and I'm like, that's so brave that he walks around like that.
Oh yeah, yeah. Why don't you flex your own for us?
I can still do that.
Hey.
Yeah. And then I'll flex mine, and we can see which one looks better. Yeah. Oh, because the jacket, right?
Tony
the jacket,
survived. Tony
the
survived the
jacket.
killing fields, man. All right.
Look at all that work you need
Khmer Rouge.
to match a fraction of my power.
Okay, so here we go, folks. Let's get back on track. So, this being that inhabits that area, I don't know if it's just one being or there are multiple beings. The story that Michaela has told to our friend, and his name is Hamuda, and we know about what, 4 now?
Yeah.
We know four different Hamudas. But anyway, he's from the Levant, and so shout out to him. Thank you for that story. But we're going to get to the bottom of it because he's also trying to help me learn to finish learning Arabic. So we're practicing, and yeah. But I think that it's going to be a compelling story to get what she went through and what all happened to her up in those mountains. And he's actually not Muslim. He's Christian, but he converted because of his wife, who converted. She was actually a Druze, and then she converted to Christianity, which is very rare, but she did. And so, anyway, shout out to him. We have another story we can tell you. But it's up to you what you want to hear. Do you want to hear the one about the weird shadow thing that came out of what's it called? The Lizzie Borden. Well, I don't know. I don't want to say that that's where it came from. I don't know. I know that they visited it. This woman was sort of an amateur ghost hunter. She had gone to a few different places. She had a weird when she went to the what's it called in London? The Bloody Tower. What's it called? Oh God, what is the name of it? The palace, the Tower of London. God, I'm so tired. I can't even think straight. So the Tower of London. She had a weird experience there. And then we have the Goatman type creature that was seen on the outskirts of Baltimore. What else we got? We got a Dogman story. Literally, this thing like knocked over a guy's trailer. So lots of weird, wild stuff. Tomorrow, remember, don't forget, if you have a story to tell, open lines. We're going to be here, all three of us, waiting for you to tell us your freaky story. Get to it. So what do we got here? Who's voting here? One day I plan to visit Boston because it is just a cool city, man. I know a lot of cool people from there, and I've always wanted to go. Always kind of had an affinity there. I had a vision one time that I was from there. Maybe it was like a past life or something. I don't know what it was, but I was shot in this vision that I had. Plus, I had a dream about it. I was shot. I was like this Irish gangster dude, and I was just like hanging out in a bar, and I see this guy walk up real fast in my peripheral, and I'm looking in the mirror, and he just shoots me. Like I just see a flash, and I feel this pain, and I'm looking at myself in this mirror that's behind the bar, and I feel like I know the city. Like if I went there, I feel like I would know it.
Yeah.
Because I like all the Boston teams too, man. Like I like all the Boston teams.
Yeah, I've heard good things about it. And
Well, I've heard a lot of bad things.
normally
about it
don't
too.
hear good things about major cities, but like Boston's supposedly like one of the better ones, I guess.
But I've always liked like the Celtics. I've always liked the Red Sox. It's weird, man. I have like this weird thing, an affinity for that city, but I don't know why. So, what do you guys want to hear? Do you guys want to? What do y'all want to lead off with here? Or we let off with the vampire thing.
We're getting a lot of
the whole history.
getting a lot of comments for the shadow.
Okay, if that's what you guys want to hear. So what ended up happening, Monica, not our co-host Monica, who ditched us tonight, but Monica, what happened to her, she went with her husband and her two daughters to visit the Lizzie Borden house. And that would be cool, right? And then they went on this trip all over the Northeast. They went everywhere, and they ended up in this in Massachusetts. It wasn't actually in Boston. It was outside of Boston in a hotel. They rented a hotel, and supposedly the hotel was not haunted. There was no history of it being haunted. She, however, her whole life had been seeing this black shadowy thing. One time when they were the Grand Tetons, they went to go visit all this stuff, and they were traveling through this one area of South Dakota, and they stopped at this hotel. And there was a woman working there, and she was native, and she goes, I can see you have a traveler. And she's like, what do you mean? She goes, you have a passenger. You have something on you that follows you. It's very dark. And she says, are you native? And she says, yeah, actually, my grandmother was full-blooded, native. And she said her grandmother was Shawnee. And she said that she was very, she had a lot of weird dreams and stuff that would come true. And this native woman told her in South Dakota, she says, you have something on you that comes from one of your native ancestors, and it's very protective, but it's also very evil, and it is the spirit. It can be. She didn't say it was evil. She said it can be very evil, very dark, and she said it comes from your native ancestry, and it is the spirit of a deceased medicine man. And she goes, unfortunately for you, its job is to protect you, right? But it's also a murderer. This is what she said. This is what this woman gave her this whole...
So it protects her but goes overboard.
Her. It's a murderer that's trying to... It's spending purgatory, trying to atone for its past.
That's its penance.
Basically, but it's not happy, okay?
It's begrudgingly doing it.
So she said that when she was young, she was living in Georgia. And she said that her husband was in the military, and he traveled all over the place. So they were all these different places. A 30-year military vet, whatever. Lakota, you need to give us your address. We couldn't mail your stuff. Thank you for showing up. Vengeful spirit, yes, very much. And so this guy that was on the military base at Fort Benning goes to her, knocks on her door. Okay, this is an early story that she had, and she said that this thing. this guy, I used to call him a thing, tried to force himself on her. Now, she says, I'm an older woman now. She's like 62 years old or whatever. She said, but when I was young, she goes, I was pretty. She said, I was beautiful. When she showed me a picture of herself when she was young, I was like, oh, no, I don't think so. But, she said she was pretty. I mean, that's all. That's in the eye of the beholder. My eye did not think that at all.
It's good that she thought
Damn,
that.
she ugly. But
It's amazing the confidence people have these days.
I told you I was going to do that. She already knew I was going to make a joke. So it was like, I asked her, I said, it's okay, we'll make a joke. I did. I asked that. Okay? I usually don't, I just improvise, but I did not do that this time. I told her I was going to say that.
Yeah, it's a joke you'd have to talk to someone
I did.
before,
I got permission.
beforehand.
I got permission. Monica, I was kidding with you. She's like, I'm 62 now, but I used to be hot. I was like, okay, at that point, I'm going to make a joke about that. And she's like, oh boy. She already knows my personality. She knows how I am. I know you're watching. Thank you for the story.
He's probably laughing at the
your
screen right
husband,
now.
Bill, for letting me make that joke. He died laughing in the background when I said that. I could hear him in his little speaker, and he was all like, oh my gosh. Like he'd like spit his tea out of his mouth. And so, okay. So anyway, joking aside, I got you on that one. Okay. So here's the thing. She said, I wasn't a bad looking woman. And this guy who had pretended to be my husband's friend, my husband had gone off and they were doing maneuvers, right? He was not an officer, a non-commissioned officer, as high as you could go. And this guy, he shows up and tries to force himself on her. She says, well, she's fighting for her, whatever. This thing, she goes, I can't describe what it was. It just looked like a black ball of fuzz that came out of the closet. And it literally went into the guy's mouth, and it was coming out of his ears and every orifice, and the guy was choking to death. And then it took the form of what looked like, sort of like a native, and it was holding him down, and it looked like it had like a tomahawk. When he got up and he ran out, of course, later on he confessed to her husband what he had done, and he claimed that his story, he was drunk, and then something possessed him, which they thought was absolutely ridiculous. And, he turned him in, he got in trouble, whatever happened, whatever. But they thought it was absolutely ridiculous until later on, this happened again, but not like that. Somebody attacked her son, and he made the same excuse. He said that he was at the bar, he'd been drinking, and that something had possessed him. And then he tried to hurt her son, tried to run him over with an SUV. And so she's talking to her husband, and she's like, now why is it that 2 times in our lives I was assaulted, an attempted SA, and then this was an attempted murder by a guy who claims the same thing, like 15, or I think it was 17 years later, tried to kill her son. Mm-hmm. And he says the same thing. There again, her son claims that he was pushed out of the way, and this dude ran up and hit one of their vehicles, backed up, and tried to run him over. And it was considered temporary insanity. Like he pled attempted murder. He's like temporarily insane. And of course, he tells them something possessed me. I don't know what it was. It was like something was trying to make me do this. And then her son claims that he was pushed out of the way by some sort of unseen force, and he was spared, right? So then you fast forward, they go to England as a family, and she had 2 daughters later in life that were not expected. They were twins. So they ended up going as a family all to the Tower of London, her 2 older brothers, and then 2 older boys, and then 2 younger, whatever. And she sees what looks like the outline of a man, but he looked like, his head looked like a lion. He had like a mane. She goes, I'm not joking. It looked like he had a mane, like a lion. And she's like, and I saw this, and it freaked me out. And she goes, and I knew that there was something abnormal, not correct about this being that I was seeing. She goes, it wasn't like it was a demonic entity. It didn't give me a bad feeling. Thank you for that donation, Christian. But she said, but I definitely felt like it was something not to be messed with, and it was like a guardian, something that was there to protect the building, something that was like a guardian, you know what I mean? But she said that it wasn't like something evil, but if you were there to do harm, she's like, it could definitely cause problems. And she said that when she was staring at it, she felt two hands grab her by her arms from behind, and she could feel something grabbing her like a man's hands, and she could feel his breath on her neck. And her second oldest son claims to have seen this shadow being. What happened? Metallithic. What is going on here?
Just kept making antagonistic comments that aren't worth going over.
Did you kick him out?
Yeah. He was warned and then put in timeout and then warned again and then just kept doing it. So enough is enough. Just making inappropriate comments about the opposite gender. Just put it that way.
Ban him.
Yeah, he's gone.
Okay. Yeah, no timeout. Ban him. And so what ended up happening, she was grabbed by this entity, and her son saw it and said that it had like feathers hanging down off of its neck, like off its head down to his neck, like a native. But it was a shadow. And then when her daughters were born, her one daughter in particular she could see. Like, she believed she had like a second sight. Well, that's when we started talking. I told her that's probably the one daughter for sure. The other daughter's like afraid of it. But she said that she saw this, what looked like a native man, burning sage. She didn't know what it was. He was, you know how the sage looks, you know? And that he was going around the house burning it. And he was like humming, you know, and she was like very comforted by it. But her sister started screaming and flew into a just complete panic. And freaked everybody in the house out. And her brother runs. He wasn't that much older. I mean, he was, you know, several years older, but he was still a kid. He was like 10. And these kids are like, you know, 8 years younger than them or 7 years younger than them. They're little. And he goes in there with his BB gun, and then he starts shooting it at the air. But he could see the smoke.
Oh, wow.
Which was weird, right? So then, fast forward from all this weird stuff there was a whole bunch of stuff that went on. They went on this trip, and she started getting into the whole ghost hunting thing, and her husband was like, he's a pretty cool guy. Like, I talked to him a little bit. He was funny. He was very gregarious, outgoing. He's originally from outside of Philly, so he kind of had that Philly attitude, kind of like Chris Kramer, you know? And so he's an Eagles fan, and I was like, I will pray for you, my friend.
We all have our flaws.
We all have our flaws. But he's over there, you know, and he's like, I don't know about all this. It's really weird, you know. I don't know. You know, people are telling me they're seeing this, they're seeing that, and I don't know what to believe. But he said that when they were at the Lizzie Borden house, he saw a shadow in the room where her stepmother was murdered. He saw a shadow right there from the hallway into the room. He could see it, and it just stood there looking like it was observing him. And he said it scared the crap out of him. And he's like, I was too scared to even tell my wife, like, look at this. This thing is staring at me. And he's like, I'm doing this. You know, like I'm throwing my right arm into the midair, and then I ended up smacking some guy's wife in the face. Not hard, but her hair kind of flew back, and she's like, oh. And he's like, oh, I'm sorry. I thought you were my wife. And so he's looking around, and he's like, where did Monica go? And she's nowhere to be found. And he's like, I'm over there like, where the hell is this, you know, wife of mine, you know? There's a ghost right here, you know? So then they go on north of Boston. They're going to drive all the way up, you know, and they're really tired. And he said, we got so tired, man. You know, we got up to the next town, and we were just like exhausted. We were like, you know what, to hell with this. We're going to go to sleep. We got a hotel. Very nondescript place, you know, and they stopped and they slept for the night. And he says the next day, he's like, my wife is just in an absolute panic. And so then she tells me what she saw. She says, that night, my husband slept like a rock. Our kids were sleeping in two different rooms, you know, the boys in one room, the girls in the other room. Well, the one son was with him and his friend, his girlfriend, whatever. And they were in one room, and then the daughters were in another room. The other son is off. He's in the military. And so she says, you know, that she sees this entity come through the door, like through the front door. It's on all fours, but it's like a man. And she says, I can see it kind of hopping, moving. And she's like, I see it look over at me, and I see red eyes and these little squiggly horns. And she said it looked like a devil, like not like the devil. She didn't say it looked like the devil, you know.
Yeah.
She said it looked like a devil. And I asked her at that point, I'm like, the super devil or the regular devil? Because that's important. Which I'm joking, folks. I'm joking. So she says she sees this thing, and she said that she could smell like sulfur. And she was in that half asleep, half awake state, you know. And she says that something rolled out from under her bed. And shade fuck. Come on.
Oh, jeez.
He doesn't need help, okay? So anyway, this thing doesn't need help telling him. Oh, he's got a computer for that. So this thing rolls out from underneath the bed, and it like rolls towards the being. She's like, and then there's this like fight that ensues, and she's like, it was like two dogs. She's like, and in fact, it sounded like two dogs fighting. And she says that there was like this just shrieking and howling, and she's over there pushing her husband, trying to wake him up. And she's like, it was an unnatural deep sleep that he was in. And she's like, I could not wake this man up. And he's like, you know, he made a joke. He was like, I heard every bit of it. I just ignored it. I was trying to sleep. And she was, couldn't help but laugh. But she was like, stop it. She's like, you were asleep and you left me there to watch this demonic WWE wrestling. Well, she didn't call it WWE. She called it WWF. It doesn't exist anymore, by the way, Monica, okay? I'm
You gotta be up on the times.
Huh?
She's got to be up on the
Yeah,
times.
come on. You know, being 62 is no excuse. I don't even watch wrestling. I know what it is. All right?
She should have used one of the tiny hands that slap him out of that unnatural sleep. Fix that real quick.
So he ended up like, but here's what he said. That he was having a nightmare. That there was something grabbing him by the feet and trying to pull him off the bed, and that he kept looking down, and there was like this chasm that it was trying to take him down, like to hell.
He was probably out of his body.
Yeah. Something was dragging him down to hell, and then he looked up, and there was this, what he described like a native was trying to pull him back up. So maybe this vengeful spirit was working overtime, trying to help these two. I don't know. But she said eventually it all ended with an abrupt, like just a pop. It was like a loud, and she woke up, and her husband woke up from the loud pop. He thought, and she did too, that it was like a firecracker or a gunshot. It was so loud. And that it was so loud that her daughters came in the other room, and they're teenagers at this point, and they were just like, what in the hell? Sue Gee says, oh my gosh, that happened to me. Sue Gee, you need to call in tomorrow and tell us about it. Tell us tomorrow about your story. So whenever this situation happened, like this loud pop, she's like, she began to scream, Jesus, help me, Jesus, 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 help me. And that's when it, disappeared, whatever. So he believes that something followed them from the Lizzie Borden house. Because he could not shake the feeling that something was around them when they were in the parking lot, when he went back downstairs to get the suitcases, when he went upstairs to the hotel room, everywhere. In the elevator, he said, dude, I felt like there was something around us the whole time from the Lizzie Borden house. Now, this is something that we've heard before, not necessarily, well, I have. I don't know if you guys have ever told you this, but there was another person who had sent me a story. I can't remember his name. Started with a B. Brett, Barry, Barrett. But it was kind of an unusual name. I can't remember. But anyway, it started with a B. But he gave me a story, and he played on my cousin's softball team. And I'll never forget, we were talking about ghosts. And, I always talk about the paranormal. And he was telling me a story when we were all eating pizza. And he was saying, hey, I had a weird experience. I went to the Lizzie Borden house and something followed me. But I don't remember him saying anything other than like he thought that something was standing there in the doorway of his closet in his Round Rock apartment. But he had driven up there, and then he was too tired to drive back. So he literally, you can do this. I didn't even know, but you can hire someone to drive your car back and then you could just fly because you're too lazy to drive back. But, yeah, so what ended up happening, Starscream Bartholomew. How many people are named Bartholomew, Starscream? Okay. You and Jack with the jokes all the time. Jack's another one of our friends that's full of shit like him.
He said 2. Wise
These
guy.
days,
There can only
you
be
and
one.
Squid and Jack and Jerome, you know, we're all going to be in purgatory playing cards, and you're going to lose every hand. Y'all going to accuse me of cheating. You watch.
Always with the jokes, this one. Some kind of wise guy. He busted my balls.
And so, anyway, a friend of my cousin's, like, I went to their softball championship, whatever, and that was just so we could drink and whatever. Me and my brother were just there getting drunk. And that was years ago, whatever. And my cousin's passed away, God rest his soul. He had Anthony's name. His middle name was Anthony, and Anthony's middle name is actually Anthony. And he had my middle name, which is first name, Paul. So he had Anthony's middle name, and he had my middle name, Paul Anthony. But we all went to one of his softball games one time, and we all just drank and whatever. And so afterwards, though, I got to meet this guy we were talking about ghosts, and I remember that. But and also I did some research on it. After hearing this story from Monica, I actually went and I looked it up into some of the cases, and I talked to a friend of mine who's been doing this for a long time, and it is a real thing. People will go to these places. Of course, everybody knows that. Something can follow you or you can get an attachment. But there have been cases of people who have guardian spirits, guardian angel, spirit, whatever you want to call it, and it will fight with these things that try to come after you. And thank goodness, because they never had another incident like that.
Huh.
Of course, that was just 6 months ago. So, I mean, you know.
I wonder why something would even try it with her in particular. I mean, like, did it not know that there was something protecting her? Like, what?
I think it followed
It
him.
doesn't make sense.
You know, and then that spirit that was with her, you know, did what it did. One of the things that people don't understand is, now you got to remember, this is weird, folks, and I got to tell you this. There have been people who've told me I'm laying in bed and I feel something hit me from underneath the bed. Now that happened to me 2 or 3 times. And it didn't happen in the old house, the haunted house that I can remember. I think Scorpio had said something like it happened to him. I think Willie had said that, and one of the twins had said that. But for me, it happened at the apartment. When we were living at the Domain. Something hit me a couple times under the bed, and it hit Nellie too. What people don't remember or realize, or they forget, whatever, is that these things like to attach themselves to your back, to your spine. So, yeah, something's going to be below you, you know. So that thing, she said, came out from underneath the bed.
Must be like
with that creature.
There must be like a chakra or something right there at the base of the spine.
Yeah, I think.
It's some kind of like entry
The
point.
original
Very
backstabber.
important.
If you have questions, put them in all caps or give us money.
I forgot where I heard it.
Give us money, I'll answer that shit quick.
But someone said that spirits attached to the base of your neck and like the bottom of your spine.
They do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So there's obviously something there.
Lakota Angel, did you read that?
Let me see. Took care of an elder that used to say, "Tell her to get off my back." Ooh, this little girl.
Delana says, Wolf is making that protein cookie sound fab.
Those are pretty good.
I could be like this.
I'm glad I'm hearing that in person and not through a speaker. That would be disturbing.
It's so scrumptious. I can't tell you how delicious this is. Very dry. Peanut butter. It's like dry peanut butter. But if you put it on like a heater, let it dry out. It gives you muscles.
Has a consistency of chalk.
Pretty much. Amy, why you got to go there? You know I will, too. Blessings. Eat with the little hand. You get lots of money. Are those? Did we bring the other ones, or we got?
I don't know. We got a pair here.
Nelly ordered us like another set because we had so much fun with the first
Yeah, I don't
one.
know where the second set is. Yeah, I mean, if they're not on the table over there, I don't know.
And now for my next trick. Come on. There's so many donations we could get. You want to make me pawn my jewelry? Huh? Is that what you're trying to do? You trying to shame me? You humble me? Huh? How long do you think I can go for? A marathon till we raise $1 million. Nothing. Not $1. Not even $1.
It just cuts
Tough
you.
crowd, eh?
It just cuts to you holding that thing and you're a skeleton. Still haven't raised $1 million, like a SpongeBob.
Good skit. Folks, we're thinking about doing like a funny thing, like just for fun, like going out and doing like on our Facebook channel. Because we have a Facebook channel. But I don't even know how many people we have on it. We don't really use it. I don't have time to do all that. But me and Tony were going to go around to people like Home Depot and just, ask funny questions. And y'all will already know because you're in on it. You know what I mean? But the poor people there, they're not going to have any clue. I just like to walk up and like maybe just like wear sunglasses or something and have the hat pulled down, and just have it like this, like have it like that and have sunglasses on and just walk up and be like, I'm in trouble with a wood over here. I was looking up, because like I'm not really sure, I gotta build a house. They're gonna be like, excuse me? Like if it's, because I gotta get some wood, because I gotta build a house. I gotta, it's the place to sleep in. It's a place to take a poop. You know what I'm saying? There's like a house. Just I need to know how much wood. If you could just point me in the direction of how much the wood to get for the wood. And you know how aggravated this is gonna be? They're gonna be sitting there going like, what in the shit? You know what they want to say? They want to go, what is wrong with you? Shut the F up. And you're just going to be like, but they got to sit there and be nice, So then you just tell me I just need to know the wood just to get the house, to get the, to build the house, But if you got some ideas, let us know, because we're thinking about doing it, man. We're just going to see what happens. You only live once, right? Or maybe you don't. Maybe you live a bunch of times. But, just something for fun. Nothing too fancy. Until you just aggravate somebody to punch you. Then when they punch you, you can be like, now I can get my house. I will sue you, Lowe's, for everything you got. My plan worked, and then our enemies will go, He talked about that on his show, Paranormal Roundtable. He talked about it. He said he was going to do that. He said he was going to do that. And don't give him no monies. We're on Reddit talking shit all the time. Aren't intimidated. No. So anyway. That's already been done, Katie7, to put up dog posters of a werewolf. You know what you could do, though? Just go up to people and freak them out and take like one of them really ugly dog pictures. And, I'm real good at keeping straight face and I could just walk up and be like, excuse me, I lost my dog in this area. And then show them this ugly, you could probably do AI. Like a mix of dog, like one of them little bingy dogs with like a werewolf. And he's like, and just,
or like just show him a picture of like an angry pit bull with like blood all over his face.
hold it like a hand.
Yeah, with like a human hand.
He like, I lost my dog. We were talking about it earlier. Was his name Ajax? How about that?
Yeah.
From the Iliad. Lost my dog Ajax. I haven't seen him in a long time. You think you could help me? I mean, geez, I really like that dog a lot. Show it to them, and they're like, oh.
Or it's just a picture of Anthony in a dog suit.
I used to do that to people because because you know how the women at the different apartment complexes we have to deal with, the managers and stuff. Mm-hmm. I freaked a couple of them out. I told them it was a joke, and they actually liked it, that it was funny. But they always like have a picture of their kids there, and sometimes their kids are cute. You know, their family's cute. They have their husband, family, whatever, good looking. And then sometimes you're like, oh, I didn't know you have pet chimps? And they're like, hey, that's my children and my husband. And I'm like, oh, okay, I thought that was King Kong. You were on vacation, and that was like the gorilla camp. I didn't gorilla cage. I didn't know what that was. But you can't say that. You know, you're thinking it. That's what's going on in my head. And then they're like, so, in conclusion, how much is this going to cost? And I'm like, oh, yes, you know, because you're off and they're thinking about the zoo.
14 bananas.
That's going to cost you a bushel of bananas. So they have this, you know, I was thinking about like, you know, so what I did was I took this ugly baby that I found on like Facebook, whatever, hideous kid. I mean, I don't know who this kid was. This was years ago. And I would be like, oh, check out my child. And literally one of them, Stephanie, you remember her?
Yeah.
She goes, oh. She tried to play it off. And I'm like, keeping a straight face. And I'm like, yeah, that's little booger. I didn't know what to call him. So I had to make up a name off the spot. And so I just called him Josh Jr. Like, yeah, that's little Josh Jr. Isn't he cute? And she's like, She did not know what to say. This poor lady.
Just pull out a picture of the Eraserhead baby.
She was the manager of the one off of Gracie Farms, the one down the street. Remember we said to go get our packages there all the time?
Yeah, they don't deliver them there.
Yeah, so I ended up pulling that account. And so I went in there a couple times to get my packages, and I'm sitting there, and I was like, you know, I seen your children. Here's a picture of my baby, and she fell backwards almost out of her chair. And my brother's standing behind me laughing his ass off because
Pumpkinhead baby.
this baby was I think he's the one that found it. And D, I don't know if you're listening, D's in the hospital, but I saw him earlier. D found this picture of baby, and it was this baby whose face looked like an old man, and he had his arms like this. And he looked like a little wrinkled old man, but it was an actual baby.
Yeah.
This was years before AI and all that. So I had that baby on my phone, and I would show people that, and I wouldn't say anything until the next time they saw me, and then I'd be like, oh, that's not really my baby. And they're like, oh, thank God. Like, wow. I was like, you know, you're not that ugly. I'm like, geez, really? And you're gonna say that? One of them said that. She goes, I mean, you're not like that bad looking, you know, to have a baby like that. The baby was hideous, man, for real. But anyway, enough of the jokes. All right, so what we got going on? What's the next item on the agenda here? We have a dog man werewolf story we could tell. We could tell the one about the goat man. I figure we could probably squeeze them both in. Maddie says the baby's watching. Well, because that picture was probably pretty old when I got it. It probably was about 20 years old now, so. It was an ugly picture, man. My brother got it. It was weird. I took it and I made a copy of it, and I taped it to his door. And then in defiance, he left it there for like a year. I thought for sure he'd, you know. But, you know, his son, you know, my adopted son, my nephew, he's not much better. So, you know.
Got the truth.
Werewolf, everybody. Oh, vampire. Who's saying vampire? We already did the vampire story, Ace. Get with the program, man. Jeez. Come on, Ace. I didn't peg you for having the retardation. Seinfeld. What is that? You got to see the baby. What is that? I don't remember that episode. I've seen all but like the last. I think. Well, no, I haven't seen the last 3 seasons. I've seen up to a certain point. My wife had me watching them all because I remember it used to be on all the time, and I would watch it at night. You know.
Yeah.
It would come on like after The Simpsons or whatever. Goat Main. Elaine, you gotta have a baby. Costanza. It's like they always hire like former players. It just doesn't seem fair. You're like, what? Why would they always hire? Why would the Yankees always hire like former players to be the manager? And he's over there like, it just doesn't seem fair. Like, yeah, sure, George, whatever. So, I guess we're going to tell the werewolf story. So anyways, this story is like, it's not, you know, a real all-encompassing story, but I thought it was pretty creepy. You wait till Sunday. I got one that's kind of, I think it's pretty scary. It's going to knock your socks off because it's freaked me out. This guy decides to go, he decides to stay the night in a house in a subdivision. I'd say he made a big mistake. Let's put it that way. Something was in there. So just prepare for that one on Sunday. And tomorrow we got open lines. Anyways, this story comes from Oklahoma. It's right there on the border, on the Oklahoma border, with Texas. And the guy was driving through, and he stopped at a rest stop. And he was up near the well, not in the Panhandle, but right there near it. And he was heading north. He was heading north, going north. And I've gotten stories like this before, where somebody has decided to take a nap at a rest stop, and something happens. I don't know if these rest stops are like mini state parks, or like, you know how the state and national park, me and LA talked about it earlier, you know, the state and national parks, there's a bunch of stuff that goes on there. And somebody asked me point blank, and they were like, you know, should I take my family to a state park? I said, hell no, you shouldn't take your family to a state park. Now, LA says, you know, like, you didn't see this stuff happening, you know, years ago, you see it now. I don't know about that. I haven't really gone real far back. Now, of course, he was talking about Politis, you know, when he had talked to David about it. There was this, you know, stuff that was going on or whatever in these books. I've read 3 of his books, but, you know, and at a certain point, they all start to kind of run together, these cases. But I would say that it probably was going on. We just weren't hearing about it like we are now. What do you think?
Same thing.
Tony doesn't answer.
I mean, I agree. Same thing. I mean,
He's got a peanut.
I didn't have anything else. I didn't have anything else to add, so I didn't want to.
No, but like seriously though, the state and national park thing, I think there's a reason that those tracts of land are cordoned off. That like the whatever is there underground is like it's something that's been there, that was there. I don't know. It's like that area was like planned for some kind of underground facilities or bases, because it's not a coincidence that like a lot of times whenever people see these weird creatures in these state national parks, it's not uncommon for them to hear these metal doors open and close, which doesn't make sense when you're out in the middle of, you know, in the woods. Like, why would you hear like a giant metal clang? But then after that, when they see either a dog man, a Bigfoot, just crawler, whatever it is they see. Martin Grove's story is a perfect example of that. So,
well, here's the interesting thing about that is that you have to think: is it that these creatures were already kind of really running rampant in these areas, and so they decided, hey, we need to contain this, so we'll build all our facilities.
Like, what came first, the chicken or the egg, you know?
Yeah, or was it that they built those facilities and started bringing in all these monsters?
I don't know, but all I know, or all I think, is that if you've seen that movie Cabin in the Woods, like it's like a horror comedy movie, right? But I mean, like I'm not gonna go so far as to say that movie is reality, but I don't think it's as far from the truth as the average person would think. You know, No, I think obviously it's like an exaggeration, but I don't think it's that big of an exaggeration. I think these things are real. I think they're being held in underground facilities, especially in national parks. Whether they were there first or whether the facilities were built first to contain them, I don't know. Doesn't really matter. But the bottom line is that national state parks are just they're not safe places. And the things that happen there are definitely kept under wraps. There are certain things that park rangers can't talk about, certain places that they can't go, that they're told they can't do this or say that. There's a reason for that, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Well, this story happened, I believe it was north of Boise City, as the place where it happened, and it was a rest stop, and he had stopped there, and he had eaten a sandwich, and you know, and I kind of made a joke. I always kind of joke around a little bit with you know, and I told him, I said, "Do you think maybe it was the sandwich? It was a chicken salad sandwich. Was it bad?" And he says, "No, no, this thing, whatever it was." And he said that he wakes up and there's something bumping into the trailer, the back of his trailer. I should say he was pulling a trailer with his truck, you know, and he had a big Ford F-250, not Idaho, no, it's Boise City. It's in the panhandle of Oklahoma. And so he was driving through there, and something bumped into his trailer, and he looks in the rearview mirror and he sees this, and it was weird though. It wasn't like a big, monstrous-looking, hulking creature, but it had these really wide football player shoulders. He goes, it almost looked like somebody wearing a costume with big football shoulder pads.
Yeah.
But he said, dude, it was weird. And then the body tapered down to like a V, like a bodybuilder, you know, but it had these really wiry, very muscular arms, but they were skinny. And then he said that the body came down, and then there were these big thighs, and then it went down into these dog-like legs. And he said that he had 2 horses in the back of this trailer, and this thing pushed it. He said it didn't even look like, okay.
Like it wasn't difficult for
Yeah,
him.
like when you saw me, you know, punch somebody, and
Yeah,
you said that
like,
I just lifted him off his, okay. Yeah, it was like that, like just, you know, like it looked like effortless, you know, and so he said it was like this thing was so powerful, like it just pushed it with its chest. Like it just kind of sat up and went like that. And he said it was almost monkey-like the way it did it. But the snout was very big and pronounced, and the head was oversized. And I kind of made a joke about that. I said, like a toddler. And he said, and he leaped at that, and he said, yeah, kind of like a toddler. He said it was, you know, toddler-like. The guy's name's Kirk. But anyway, I told Kirk, I said, dude, so it pushed the trailer, you know, up, you know, and I think he said he was coming from like Dalhart or something. I can't remember exactly where he was from there or whatever. But it pushed the trailer, and it moved it, you know, and to where it wrenched itself almost loose from his truck, and then it went up, and then it came back down, and the horses were freaking out and kicking and whatever.
Dang.
And so he couldn't let this thing knock the trailer over. So, braver guy than me, I mean, you know, I would have just started driving off, and hell be damned, the trailer's just going to have to go, you know, make it.
Yeah.
But I promise you, though, dog man, if those were my horses, though, you know, and you got in there, then I'm going to get out, and I'm going to do everything. I don't care if I had a stick. If you get to my animals, you're going to have to get to me.
Story.
I'm going to kill you, okay? Dog man.
I would rather just open the gate and let them escape and never see them again than have them be
Well,
hurt.
yeah, but this thing could run off after
yeah,
him.
I know.
And after what you hear, listen to this. So he opens the door, and it immediately stops, and it kind of looks at him, and he says it kind of lifted its head like it was observing everything, you know, like smelling everything. And then it looked at him, and then it scampered towards him. And he said, dude, I got out with, he goes, I carry 2 hand cannons. He's like, I have a Desert Eagle. He goes, and I have a 357. You know, big, nice, big, you know, come make my day, sucker, you know, type gun, his words. And he says, I shot at it 3 times. He goes, I don't know if I hit it. I just shot 3 times and got back in the cab and I was gone. And we took off. He said, and my horses were freaking out. And he goes, and I could see that the trailer was kind of moving like this. So he said, I got on the highway and I was, you know, hauling ass trying to get away from this thing, and this thing ran alongside me. He said I was going about 65 miles an hour, and this thing was keeping up and was almost to my door and was like trying. He said, and it was just running like on all fours. And he said at this point, you know, he said that he grabbed the gun that was in the seat, and the trailer was kind of doing this, you know. It was almost not unhitched, but it had messed it up, did something to it, you know. And so he began to fire at this thing. He goes, and I know I hit it dead center in its ugly slap head. And he said that it kind of fell backwards, you know, whatever. That's my words. I said slap head. He said I shot it in its ugly head. And he goes, I saw a piece of it go flying off, and there was blood. There was blood. And it was all over the side of my truck. And he goes, and then it fell backwards, and then it rolled onto the ground. And he goes, but then I saw it stand straight up and began kind of like turning itself in a circle in the middle of the highway. And he goes, and I could see it. And it was a full moon, too. He said, it was a full moon. And he said he just kept going. It was just, he goes, I was gone. And then he goes, I got about 10 miles down the road. He goes, and I go back and I look, and the trailer's barely hanging on, and it's twisted, you know? And so he goes, I took a hammer and just started like, you know, big old mallet and just started beating on it. He goes, I had a bunch of tools in the back of the truck. And he's like, and I managed to get away. He goes, but this thing was moving so fast, I thought, man, this thing, if it decides to recover, maybe it could just keep coming. Mm-hmm. He said, but I had to have, this is what he said. He said, I had to have blown the top of its head off. But it didn't stop it. Like it stood up, you know, and was still moving around and acting weird. You know, like there again, you go back to what I was talking with Marzulli today about earlier. You know, he's talking about these things being shapeshifters. Like he's kind of confirming, you know, to me what I've always said. But there's a lot of people who say this. Like for example, I know Nick Valente. I was so tired I didn't get to watch him last night on Blondes and Booze. I had so much work going on, and I was just tired, and I wasn't feeling good. And so, you know, Nick, he saw his creature on the Lamapee Reservation. And I really think that it had something to do with that. I think that it, you know, that's where he saw his, whatever that was, could be a skinwalker. And, you know, me and Nick had talked about it before, like, what if he shot it? Mm-hmm. Would it have been a Joe Barger situation? Because this guy, he told me, he's like, dude, I basically had the same thing happen to me that Joe Barger did. Only thing is I shot it up in the top of the head. And he goes, but it didn't kill it. At least he didn't think it did. You know, Barger got it in the eye. You know, there have been people who've told us that they've shot these things, and what happens?
This black mist comes
black
comes off
dust
of it, and,
or dust,
and they just keep going.
What's weird though is that like they do act wary of guns, so it's like they obviously are aware.
Yeah, like they're aware of what they are,
and what they are, the damage.
They're not an
they can
animal. Those people, when they say they're animals, I'm like, no way, dude.
It makes me think like it's gonna be weird, but like in Men in Black, the movie, there's like one alien that like you're suddenly talking to the guy, and then his face opens up, and it's a little dude inside his head, being controlled. And it's like, yeah, if you shot over that guy's body, he wouldn't care, but if you shot him in his head, he would obviously be more concerned about that. But it kind of like gives me that same idea. It's like they're being controlled by something in their face that that's what really matters.
I hate the way they attack animals.
Yeah.
Like they have a special hatred for animals, dude.
Needlessly
Well,
too. 'Cause,
specifically, they go out for them.
They'll just kill them and then not even eat them.
Yeah.
Oh
just
God,
for
like
sport.
like the story we talked about earlier. 33 chickens.
Yeah.
I mean, I was gonna say, what about that horrible? Not even just Dogman related. Bigfoot do it a lot too. And like when that guy was just taking those dogs and throwing it at the side of the house. That's insane.
Yeah.
Or when they'll take deer carcasses.
Or they killed the guy's hogs. They was just taking them all and slamming them against the fence or whatever.
They like chuck deer carcasses at people.
Yeah, it's freaking ridiculous, dude. The things that they do. You know, recently the fires, pray for Ruidoso. I can't believe it, dude. I love that area. Ruidoso, I need to find out if Stetson Lewis is okay. I haven't even checked. Stetson's a UFC fighter. He's the one that got stepped on. He was a bull rider. He's a bull rider still. And had his arteries severed, and he had the near-death experience. He came on the show and talked about it. And He lives in that area, and I know a few people up there in that area. Well, it's a shame. And anyway, the fires over there in Ruidoso, you know, they had to evacuate it. It's so sad. Yeah, I love that area. I told Anthony, I was like, man, I could retire out here.
Yeah.
And you know, here's what's weird. This gives me the chills. The first thing I thought about was that story we got of that Burning Man. Remember that story right there? They said it was right there by this ranch on that highway between Ruidoso and Roswell. Yeah, Roxy, Starscream. Unfortunately, I can't donate to myself. I'm so broke right now, dude.
Y'all's donating y'all's time. It's more than enough.
Once I get myself situated, maybe find a place to live. I thought about this, though. I could still fight. Maybe somebody wants to let me fight Jake Paul. 'Cause I'll beat the shit out of that dude. I don't give a crap. I love Tyson.
No, he won't fight any
If he
real
beats
fighters.
Tyson up, I'm going to find him, and I'm going to use a special set of skills, and I'm going to whip your ass. You're not going to beat up my childhood hero. Except for when I fought Mike Tyson's Punch-Out. Then I wanted to beat him so bad. Little Mac.
Oh, you couldn't beat. Those older games were brutal.
Yeah, it was paternistic.
Yeah. Well, they were just like, they
dude,
were not
racist?
nice to you.
They were so racist, like Dragon Chan. Whoa, come on, dude. Bald Bull, the Turkish dude. Like, come on, dude. It was just. And then they had
like the color of the
Sandman, the black dude. He just looks so. I mean, it was so like they all had the weird ethnicities and stuff. You know.
Yeah.
The Russian dude, Soda Popinski. Come on, dude. I mean.
I like what
Well, you know what show
You
is
insulted every ethnicity on that game. Like,
I like playing those old Japanese games and watching what their idea of an American is. They're always like so over the top. It's either cheeseburgers or super patriotic America.
well,
you know what show was really racist actually in retrospect was Power Rangers. Because if you look at the color of the Power Rangers.
yeah, they were all.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, like the Yellow Ranger was an Asian.
The Black Ranger was a black
person.
dude.
And,
Yeah, it was pretty ridiculous. The fight is off.
But I think it's delayed for now because Tyson had an injury in training, which is, not
he's-
surprising.
He's like 60 years old, man.
But
Jake Paul needs to stop fighting these people and fight actual real boxers.
yeah.
I think what happened
He's just
was,
trying to make money. He's all he's doing.
I think what happened was Tyson injured someone else, and then because he might be 60, but he's still a monster.
Yeah, he's a beast. I mean, I'm definitely past my prime. I'm, in my prime, though, I was a hell of a fighter. I've said that before. People are like, he likes to talk about how he can fight. Dude, it ain't even an issue. I would fight Jake Paul in a heartbeat. I don't give a crap. And it wouldn't even be for the money. It would just be because I don't like him. I don't like you, dude. I'm not jealous of you. I just don't like you. I think you're a turd. You go around, you fighting these people that are past their prime, and every one of them I wish would have beat your ass, He's fighting Mike Perry. Why don't you fight Tyler Perry? Tyler Perry presents Jake Paul fighting Tyler Perry.
Yeah.
I never understood that. Why does Tyler Perry need to announce
Narcissism.
It's very obnoxious.
Tyler
Well, it's
Perry
because-
presents Tyler Perry in a dress for the 15th time.
He never plays Tyler Perry. You never know. It's
Written, produced, and directed by Tyler Perry.
First base, Tyler Perry. Second base, Tyler Perry. Third base,
Yeah.
Tyler Perry.
It's not even funny.
Tyson has stomach ulcers. I wish Tyson would just punch him and his head flies off. The end. Okay. Then he takes him and holds him up to the audience, and they all turn to stone. We've seen that before. It was a movie. Yeah. Remember, it had the Kraken in it. Medusa.
Yeah.
Spider-Man.
No. Wrath of the
I knew you were going to
Clash
say
of the
something
Titans.
stupid. Clash of the Titans. Ah, dang. I feel old now. Clash of the Titans. When I was a kid, we watched movies like that and Flash Gordon. Because Tyler Perry is Black Boule Compromise. What the freaking heck is that? What does that
I don't
mean?
know.
I have no idea.
Might
what
be
that
a
means.
typo. So
what we need to do, folks, if you're not already, you're not in green, you need to buy a membership so you will be entered into the giveaway on Sunday, and you can win. So that's what you need to do. And Inagi Bro says, I would pay so much. Yeah, I would have to train. But you know what? You give me, a few months and just get back in there. I haven't been training, boxing training anyway, in like a while. It's been months and months and months. But, yeah, just give me some time and get back in there. The guy's not a boxer. I mean, he is a boxer, but he's not fought anybody real. He's fought all these people who are over the hill and past their prime. I'm not saying I could beat him. I mean, hell, I'd have to. But if you give me enough time to train, yeah.
Well, the thing
I mean, the one time he fought,
He'd beat my ass probably right now if I just got off this chair and tried to fight him.
the one time he fought like a professional boxer, which was Tommy Fury, he lost. So
Yeah, Tommy Fury
You know,
beat his ass.
Well, the issue with him is that, if he actually really wanted to be a boxer, he skipped all the important steps. He didn't have any smaller fights to prove that he had ability. He just went straight to fighting big name people. So then it became like no one really cares about who you beat right now because you never really built yourself up as someone who deserved to have those fights with those bigger name people.
Yeah, no shit.
Yeah.
Starscream, I got a question for you. Why don't you come on tomorrow night and co-host with us for tomorrow night? Be us three and Starscream. And we could set it up on StreamYard and people can call in. Starscream put a question mark. What are you putting a question mark for? You've been on the show before, on that one late night show. I don't even know what the show was about.
Oh, what time?
At the end, Starscream came on. What time? What time are we doing it tomorrow? 8? It's 8
yeah.
o'clock Central, yeah? So, yeah. And you could come on and people can tell their stories and you could co-host with us. It'd be fun. He says, question mark, laugh out loud. It got demonetized, didn't it? No, it didn't. It's still there. It's still there. I was talking crap. What show was that? There was some show I did, and then later on, Starscream came on. I know there was one where Garetano was on with me, and then at the end of it, and then
yeah,
Paul Sinclair came on. I know that one.
yeah, I don't know off the top of my head.
Yeah.
You might get your butt whooped in that too, Smurfy. He plays Mortal Kombat and Street
Who,
Fighter.
Scorpion?
No, Smurfy. He says, I'll fight you, Josh. You pick the venue, Mortal Kombat or Street Fighter.
Oh, I'm good at those.
I'm telling you.
I am
Those are two
good
you're
at
good
those.
at.
Stefan, who's probably in the chat, he thinks he can beat me at that, but you watch what happens, Stefan. I got a special set of skills when it comes to fighting games.
Did you ever play Killer Instinct?
Oh, man.
I-
K2 also.
I love
Both
Killer
of
Instinct.
those, man. What's his name? The dinosaur dude and
Riptor.
yeah. What's his name?
Riptor?
Riptor.
Yeah.
Him and I was good with Fulgore,
Yeah.
and I was good with. I could play with Jago, but he wasn't my best
I
character.
like
but was good with-
Saberwolf.
Saberwolf was my best character.
Thunder.
Yeah, I was good with him too.
The
And the Glacius.
oh, yeah, Glacius.
Yeah.
I like his
And then the
story,
fire
too.
dude,
Cinder. Cinder is hard to play
Oh,
with.
I was good with him, dude.
I can't
that
get a
move
hold
where
of
he
him.
goes like that and becomes fire and goes towards you. Anyway, enough of that. So anyway, we have another story to tell, the last one of the night, and let's get it started here. Okay. This one happened outside of Baltimore, Maryland, and of course involves a I don't know what this is. Okay. People always talk about Goatman and being in Maryland. And this is weird because this person says that the night before they were hanging out at the hotel and they had gone to an Orioles game. Okay. This was years ago, and they were at Camden Yards, and they were contemplating this road trip that they were on, and they were getting ready to leave, and they lived in like I think southern Baltimore or something like that. And they were getting ready. They were going to watch the game, and then the next night they were going to leave, whatever. So the next day, after they left the hotel, they were driving out of Baltimore. They get out into the countryside, right outside of Baltimore, and going into the next area. And they see this I guess, I mean, I don't know how to describe it, a black shadow that looked like it was smoking, like it had smoke coming off of it, but it was like dissipating, and that it was running in front of their vehicle, and they were in a truck, and they said that they slowed down. There were 3 people in this truck, 2 guys and a girl. There was a guy and his girlfriend and his girlfriend's younger brother. And what's interesting, though, is the night before they were hanging out at a hotel with 2 people they didn't know. They were just there, and they were on vacation, and they were passing through. And this was like 20 years ago. And they said that they were at the pool, and they were talking about, and they were there for the same thing, to watch the Orioles play. And they were talking about Goatman. And one of them had brought it up, and he said, Goatman, you know, there's this story that, you know, in Maryland, there's this creature that, and everybody knows that's like the state cryptid or inhumanoid of Maryland is Goatman. And so they said that this thing, you know, darted out in front of their vehicle. But the odds, though, think about it. The night before, you're hanging out at a pool with another couple of people, and you're exchanging ghost stories, and Goatman comes up, right? And then the next day or the next night, you see it, but it doesn't look like a flesh and blood thing at all. It's like this, the smoke coming off it looked like it was disintegrating, or maybe it was just something that was coming off of it. What the hell is that? Like, I don't know what that was, but when they were telling me this, Charlie, the guy that was telling me the story, he says, dude, it was, and then it ran right in front of their vehicle, and they couldn't avoid it. They went to slam on the brakes, and they hit it, boom. But they felt it. They felt an impact. And now he's like me. He had a grill guard on his truck. I'm like, thank goodness. and so he goes, I have a grill guard. I said, thank goodness. I said, I got him on mine. So boom, he hits it, and he says this thing flies up, hits the windshield. He goes, and we see the horns. He goes, dude, he's like, he called me Mr. Josh. I don't know why you would call me that, but that's fine. That's okay. I'm not used to that. But he said you could see the lines on the horn. You know what I'm saying? And it hits the windshield, but it doesn't break it. It just kind of bounces, and then it rolls off, and then they just keep going. And then when they look back, there's nothing there. Nothing. But when they get down the road further down, they stop and they pull over, and there's this like soot or black soot ash on the hood of his truck. He said, I had a white and red truck. You know, and the hood was white and the rest of the truck was red because it was, he was like, I was planning on painting it at some point. I'm like, yeah, you know what? My OCD is not liking the color. You need to stop with this. Get it painted, Charlie. Okay, I'm not going to tell you again. Hey, boy, do it. Sorry for calling you boy. I call everybody boy. But anyway, so this black ash is on the top of his truck. And so, and he said that he put his hand on it, and he said that he could not get it off of his freaking hand. He said when he got to the nearest gas station, he washed his hands, and he was already in another state. And he says, dude, it was like, it was messed up. I couldn't get it off. It was like black. It was stuck on my hand for like 2 days. And it had a smell like sulfur, you know, like, so what the hell was that? Like, you know, I know what I think could be going on, but I don't want to sit here and speculate too much and then plant the seed of everybody else. So tell me what you think is going on. Smurfy says, Mr. Josh Wolf, Bossman's brain. Yeah, I don't know why you would call me that, but thank you. That's cool. Whatever you want to call me.
Well, it seems like some speak of the devil moments here. I mean, you know, you mention it and it comes. Is it like... Not
to mention it was horned like the devil.
Do you remember the bridge that we come to around here? That we
Will Barger.
Do you remember that there's a story that says, like, if you mention him or if you talk about him, then, like, he can hear you? Mm-hmm. What if it's in that same kind of thing where, like, maybe the goatmen have an ability where if you enter their area and you mention them at all, like, they can sense that? I don't know. That's weird.
What? Because, I mean, okay, so I still think that there's got to be something. Now I know that Maryland is where a lot of people, and in fact, one of our friends is a big bouncer downtown, or at our friend's bar, or used to be, and him and his brother had an incident involving a goat man. But you talk about it, right? And then something happens. Is it the talking about it, or was it going to happen anyway?
I don't know, because it's like, remember when I spoke about, like, I don't believe that you actually manifest or things. I think it's more like you read some of the coded matrix, and you're just able to read some of the code, so you're able to understand how things are able to like work out, because humans are pattern focused. So it could be one of those things where you might have just noticed that in the air something was wrong, so you said something, and then it did happen. Or it could be that these things do pay attention, and like if you do mention it, or if it feels for some whatever reason that it wants to appear to you, then I think like maybe if it feels like, oh, these people are terrified of me, if I come in now, it's gonna absolutely, like, they're already thinking of me. If I come in now and absolutely terrify them, the amount of emotional nourishment I can get from that is like untold.
And then there's different types of these goat man creatures. There's this satyr looking creature that looks human like, and it has a goat like lower body with the hooves, has the upper body of a man, and it has the head of a man, but it has the horns. And then there's the one that has the goat like head, and then there's this ram like head thing, and they have this kind of human like body.
Well, I think what's nice about goat man is at least they're a little bit more easy to differentiate, like the types, because they do look very different from each other, besides just size and things like bigger head or coloring. But I think it's in the same vein as those other cryptids. Same thing, just they're different versions of it, maybe, or maybe experimented on, or they just kind of different environments, so they're able to kind of have different features that maybe the ones that kind of have human faces have been around people more or interacted with people more, so they've kind of lost some of their more aggressive looking features.
They're definitely like some kind of chimeric creature, but you got to wonder, I don't know, man, you got to wonder, like, if maybe these things were they're part of the Nephilim.
Yeah,
they definitely were.
It feels like breeding of some sort.
But then here, as of late, there could be something going on. I mean, like something more.
Mm-hmm. It feels like an emergence of cryptids that it's a little bit terrifying, because it's like, where did they go? Why did they disappear? And maybe, I don't know if it's like less that people are like that. I don't know if it's that people are having less encounters with them, or that they were more just staying away from people or hidden, or if that people just weren't speaking out about it as much. But it just feels like a lot of these cryptids are becoming much more bold in their actions.
Oh yeah, they don't. It's like something's up with that. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
But anyways, folks, if you have any ideas, you want to post them in the comments section here, let me know, because
Don't forget to become a member, because tomorrow you're gonna need
Sunday.
Sunday. You guys are gonna
Tony's
join that giveaway.
Weekend.
I'll be here tomorrow as well.
Mm-hmm.
If you want to call in and talk about my good looks, go ahead. I'm not gonna complain.
Not gonna be a whole lot to talk about in that regard.
You just come back. You're gone for most of the show, and you come back to insult us.
Amy Krill says a
Someone
random
gotta do
goat
it.
showed up at my house once and got on the roof of my car. And Psyche Awakens. Oh, Psyche Awakens. What's up, man? Psyche, you were supposed to finish tomorrow telling us your crazy stories. The veil is thinning. Yes, you are correct, Paranormal Laws. So, anyways, if you got any questions or any statements, put them in all caps, or you can attach a donation. Either way, we'll see it. But we're not going to answer unless you put a donation on it. But other than that, we're good. I'm kidding, folks. Don't worry about that. Put it in capitals, capital letters. Smurfy, what the freaking? Why would you take pictures of their butts? Come on. That's weird.
You are a sad
Okay,
strange
Lakota,
man.
thank you for doing that. For giving us that address so we can get it to you. Well, thank you for that, Psyche. We're glad your nephews all watched and love the show. Subscribe to your channel, too. We
That's
appreciate it. Once Kim gets past his little sissy whatever kidney stones and gets back over here, we can start getting the younger audience involved by going to TikTok, whatever it's called,
Tic-tac.
TikTok, and then what is
Yeah,
the other
Kim,
one?
you need to just walk it off.
Instagram.
Rub-
Shit, man, kidney stones are bad, dude.
Yeah.
The only time I ever threw up from pain was that kidney stone.
Yeah, it's supposed to be more
It was
painful than
worse than
childbirth.
Well, your mom, because she said,
Yeah, she can attest to that.
she's had 4 kids, and she
yeah.
said that the kidney stone was worse than childbirth.
Yeah.
I stood up out of the wheelchair and was just like, it was awful, dude. I mean, it was a pain. Like, I thought I was going to go unconscious from the pain. And I have a high tolerance for pain. I have a high threshold for pain. Even my doctor has commented on my pain tolerance. They scoped my knee. Literally, and they're not even supposed to do this. And this is years ago because I was a different person and people didn't want to say no when I said that. So I was on Twilight. They're supposed to put you under.
Huh?
And so I just watched them do it. Yeah. And so, you know how I have the 2 marks on my knee right there? Yeah, I didn't give a crap.
That's like picturing that as like mental nails on a
Yeah,
chalkboard.
that's pretty rough.
Ugh.
I could feel it too. And then when they pulled my wisdom tooth out, they didn't give me enough of anything, whatever, and I could feel it. And I just dealt with it. I mean, the pain is, I'm pretty good with pain. And I broke my hand in a fight. And I finished the fight, and I still
Yeah, but
I finished it pretty good, and gave him a cerebral hematoma. He's lucky to be alive.
I stepped on a Lego one time.
A Lego? Yeah,
That's
those are
pretty
the
rough.
worst. That's probably the worst
I think
pain
that's probably
of all. They make Legos.
You
to be
win, Tony.
painful to be
That's it. You win on that
to
one.
step on.
I don't think anyone can top the Lego foot.
Yeah. So no questions, no comments, everything. Everybody's good. Okay. Well, thank you, folks. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for everything.
Well, Isaac, we're just kind
Werewolves
of
says, I
grasping.
believe I got unjustly permanently banned from commenting on your channel with my other channel the other day when I made a comment on the topic of discussing Saturn. Well, what did you say? Because I don't know what you said. Email me and tell me what you said. My email's right up there. If you have any stories, send me your stories. Exactly. Isaac says that's a lot to process. Patreon.com, PRT podcast, whatever. If you want to help out with the show, that's the best way to do it, to become a Patreon member, because then you get a swag bag and you get a lot of cool stuff. So join, do it. Become a member and you can get entered into the giveaways that we do every Sunday. So there's that. Jennifer Bush says, one more story. No, gotta go. Sorry. Paula says, I asked a question, but it wasn't seen. Well, then it probably was destiny. It is your destiny to not be heard.
Try not to take it personal. There's just a lot of stuff going on in the chat. There's, 437 of you here.
My life right now has been absolute hell. I'm not going to lie to you. I'm not going to joke with you. I'm being dead serious, dude. I'm going through hell right now. I'm stressed out. Having some health things going on with myself, with Nelly. My brother's in the hospital. One of my other guards is in the hospital. Just got a million things happening. But this is the one thing I enjoy. I'm so happy when I wake up and it's a Friday, Saturday, Sunday. I know that I have the show. And sometimes it's a little hassle because I got to make sure I get there and do it. But I'm happy because I know I'm going to be with my paratroopers and I'm going to be able to just enjoy the night and retell people's encounters or have them come on and tell their encounters or have a discussion with somebody or whatever it is that we got going on. And no, it's gonna be fun again tomorrow. We're gonna have open lines tomorrow. Tomorrow's gonna be great. I'm really confident that people are gonna, want to jump on and
Oh, yeah.
hang out with us and tell their encounters. And maybe I can throw a few stories in there too with what that relate to what you're talking about. So, anyways, folks, thanks for tuning in. Thanks for those that donated. Thank you for that. Thank you for donations. They're not expected, but they're appreciated. And thank you for everybody who's just giving us views. Thanks to everybody who tuned in earlier. We had like 400 and something people that watched the interview or discussion I had with LA. He does an hour at a time because, he has to do it later in the day, which is 4 o'clock from the end of his workday. And he told me, he's like, I'm really tired. But he wanted to do another hour. We're going to do it on Monday. And I think to his guy for reaching out to me. It was an honor for him to want to be on my show. And it was awesome to get to talk to him and interview him.
Yeah, y'all nailed it with that one.
Definitely.
Because I've seen other people talk to him and they don't. It's like I'm not going to criticize anybody in particular, but like sometimes people don't ask the right questions. They don't.
Yeah.
I think it's all a matter of like just getting the right, whatever.
And I mean, to be fair, it can be. It's not easy to like do an engaging interview, especially with someone like who has like a mind that's just filled with knowledge. Like if you're not like on their level mentally, which I mean, no one can blame you if you're not, because like you, people like him and you, like y'all are just walking encyclopedias.
Yeah, I mean, the thing that's nice about it is that a lot of times when there's a big gap in intelligence, there's some explaining that needs to be done so that the other person is able to catch up. But you guys don't need that. So you guys are able to just get to the level that you guys need to get to, and then just keep moving forward from that. You don't have to, there's not this wasted time having to catch people up. So it's really nice to see where, two people reaching towards the truth and, they're both doing it together as equals.
Yeah.
I was glad that I could, explain to people too, when Marzulli was talking about the Iberian Punic, which is important that people understand, the connection there and why that's important, because Carthaginians, they did travel everywhere, and I wouldn't be surprised at all if some of the natives have Carthaginian blood from the East Coast in particular. So that's the thing. I mean, a grasp on the reality that we're forced to live in. I say forced because the question I'm going to ask him on Monday is what he thinks about this reality. Mm-hmm. If you remind me,
that's going to be great.
Message me that so I can remember, because that's the one question I was going to ask on Monday, just to get LA's opinion on it. because there's other people too that I need to interview too. There's a lot, and I'm not being braggadocious, but there's a lot of people that I need that are waiting. I need to talk to them, and I need to get them on. You know, and it's stuff that could be done a long time ago. I think we could be a lot further along on this journey if I had more time. But it seems like right now the time is it's just not coming together like I'd like. But you know, they say you got to do things in God's time, not your time. That's how it goes. And God will humble you if you don't humble yourself. So many people, they misjudge me, misread me. They don't know. They don't understand. You know, and when they say, well, you're just supposed to ignore it, you're supposed to do this, you're supposed to do that. Yeah. You put yourself in our position and get attacked 24/7, 365 days a year, 7 days a week. And then let's see how much you're willing to just sit back and let him tee off on you. You know, but I'm done trying to defend myself. The truth defends itself. People are figuring it out. They're figuring out that these people are liars. They're frauds. You know, I don't need to say it anymore. It is what it is. Nothing they say is real. It's just that they live in a fantastical, magical mystery tour. A fantastic voyage. It's like the stuff that they say is so outlandish that other people that don't even really like me have stepped up and said, dude, you know, come on. You're getting so far out there now. You know, and that's where you know that it's gone to the point of just absurdity with the rumors and the lies. But we have fun here.
Yeah.
No matter what's going on in our lives, no matter whether we're trying to remodel a house and they put a dead raccoon on your
yeah, splay it out like a bear rug.
Unbelievable that somebody would do that right there on the
patio,
deck, or what's it called, the
balcony, patio,
balcony.
Whatever.
And I'm with Nellie. I mean, she's like, I didn't want to live in this house. Thank God, because I'd rather stay in a hotel and stay there.
Yeah. I
was already having weird feelings about it, and then that just solidified everything I was feeling. But anyway, folks, you know, that's it for tonight. I can't wait till tomorrow, and then again on Sunday. Sunday's going to be lit because I got a story for you that scared the shit out of me. Excuse my language. When he was telling me this story, his name was Theo. I think his name was. I think it was. It doesn't stand for Theodore. It stands for something else. But anyway, he was homeless, and he spent the night in a house. And he's like, I wish to God I never had done it. He said something was telling him not to, but he was so tired that he went in there into a house. And it just my hair. It makes the hair tingle. My head. Look at my arms. Look at that, dude. The hair is standing up on my arms. Look at that. I don't know if you can see it on the camera. I guess you can't, but
Probably not.
Oh my gosh, dude. When he was telling me that, I was like, ugh. And I was alone in my study. And I was just like, open the door to my study. Let the animals come in, you know? And then they didn't want to come in, the little bastards. They were just like, nah, we're good. We're good. They're like SpongeBob. I want tacos. I'm like, okay, whatever. Any other time you'd want pizza, but now you want tacos. Okay, SpongeBob. Way to go. I was calling them in there too. I was like, hey, y'all come on in here. They're like, nah, you be scared alone. But anyway, folks, yeah, it's going to be on. I'll see you guys. Thanks for tuning in. We had a great time. Paranormal Roundtable. Tell your family, your parents, your friends, your cousins, your brothers, your sisters, your nieces, nephews, children.
Your mammy, your pappy, your slap pappy,
your mammy, your
grandpappy.
pappy, your grandpappy, your whatever, everybody. Your mammy, your dad, your mama, your meemaw, my papa, my peepaw, whatever. Tell them all. All right. Thank you and good night. I'll see ya. Let's play it out.
All right.